Of Yep, everything's up and running. I see a few people over in the chat already and people waiting. That's always a good sign. So, welcome tonight, Saturday night, our live stream. So, I got a gift at the wedding last weekend. Wound up with COVID, my wife and I, but I had a couple of bad days. Well, not too bad, but a couple of days there that I just didn't feel like doing anything. But feeling much better today and did get the grass mowed. And the stream must go on. All right, so the topic tonight is there enough, do you ever have enough gear? And I'll just go ahead and give you my answer right now. No, I don't. Hang on, we got Mr. Jeff is going to jump in here with us from Selective Imagery. Hello, Jeff.
Hello. I'm your friendly psychiatrist.
Yeah, man, I need more than that. I need a huge intervention. Actually, I don't want one. I'm not going to. I'm not going to acknowledge I have a problem.
It's always good to be in denial.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm curious to know tonight, see if anybody else suffers from this same strange issue of just continuing to collect gear. Some of it collects dust now.
It usually starts with an itch,
Yeah, yeah, man. I've got so much stuff. I think that's one of the things that will happen when I get ready to move is I'm going to segregate a lot of stuff, and it's going into. It's definitely going to be on the chopping block. Time to liquidate. Hey, Maz, good to see you, man. John,
He's in the
listening
car.
in the car. Cool. All right, man. That works too. So, anybody get to see the video that Vahagan just dropped? Pretty amusing. Kind of fun.
I saw the title, but I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. But I'm dying to.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of wit in it. You have the same addiction, David May? Yeah, man. I'll tell you, and it's not just it's never enough. I can't even keep up with I have a laundry list of things that I say, okay, this is priority for the next purchase. Then something else happens. Nope, now I need this more than I need that. If I was a rich man, I would just order everything on the menu at B&H and be done with it.
Hey, just buy B&H.
There you go. That'd even be better. Yeah.
Then you could be someone that can try out every camera.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fun. Didn't used to collect gear, but as I could afford it, I tended to keep my old gear instead of selling it on. Yeah, Roy. For cameras and lenses, or for camera bodies, I've continually just used those as the source for the next purchase, the next body. But lenses I've tended to hang on to. Now I've got a bunch of F-mount lenses that I really don't need anymore because I'd rather invest now heavily in the Z mount. So, oh well. Hello, Albert. Gustavo, yeah. V is a man of many talents. He is, no doubt about that. He may join us here before long. I just talked to him a little bit ago.
Roy made the easy choice. Forget the car. Get the Z9.
There you go. Yep. Well, that's just it. Everybody can make choices and put things on the back burner. Well, I really don't need heat and air in my house or water. I got a creek.
The neighbors see you washing your clothes on a rock near the river, you know you're in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah, Israel. Yeah, Grays would be a nice stop too. I'll just clean their basement out. If I was a billionaire, just give me everything down there. Oh man, sorry with the sniffles tonight, but it's going to be that way, I guess, for another couple of days. Oh, so how about you guys? Oh, Greg Wilson going through all of camera gear. I'm a photoholic. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. Maybe that's what we'll start as a once a week session. Hello, my name is Chuck, and I'm a photo-gear-holic. Mm.
Gotta hope it doesn't like all fall off the shelf and land on you. They'll never find the body.
I mean, the easy answer to this is how much can you use, and you'll get an answer from a sane individual. You know, I only need a couple of bodies and the lenses that I typically use. But coming from somebody like me, it's always going to be, but I might need this or I might need that. Actually, that's how this studio came to be. Over about 4 years, I was collecting bits and pieces, microphones, monitors, you name it. And finally, one day, put it all together. And here we are doing live streams. So thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's a small peek into the junk that I have. I call it junk, but of course it's not. Those are all my little babies, all the bits and pieces. Yeah, they have the 8 millimeter. They have the 6 millimeter too. Yeah, I think it's the 6 millimeter, isn't it, Roy? Maybe it didn't. Maybe they did have the 8 millimeter out, but I thought it was the 6.
I
Yeah,
remember it had a pretty good scratch on it when they used it, but you couldn't tell from the picture.
right.
Looked fine.
Yep. All right. All right. There are some bits and pieces to get into tonight. This is just to get us started, but I thought I'd at least entertain you guys if you feel the same way. Do you have yeah, I thought it was a 6. Do you have a lot of gear that you just flat out don't use anymore that you're just hanging on to because, okay, I'll say it, speaking for myself, you're too lazy. I'm too lazy to actually try to sell it off or trade it or whatever because I have lots of stuff that I honestly don't need anymore. I probably never needed it. I wouldn't miss it if I couldn't find it, half of it. Uh,
I think I just tend to try to talk myself into keeping it because I know how little I'm going to get for it. So I try to convince myself that hang on to it, use the FTZ,
yeah.
and and hold off on running rampant with the Z lenses to my financial detriment. But I got a feeling that over the years, and not too many years from now, I will have failed in that
Yeah.
respect.
Well, I am getting ready to liquidate a bunch of my F mount glass here before long. I'll let you guys know when I get ready to do it. And maybe that's another show we could do. Just do excuse me, hang on a second. Maybe do a show talking about, if anybody's got anything that they're putting up for sale and you'd like to sell it to the community here first or offer it. And I don't know how everybody feels about that. But anyway, we might do a show like that. Let everybody have a chance to at least see if anybody in the community wants it, if they feel comfortable with selling that way. But then again, that might be dangerous for me because I'm going to see a lot of stuff I don't need, but I want go across the block. Oh, Albert, my obsession with acquiring photographic equipment is often embarrassingly childish. I truly struggle with letting go of equipment. I do too. I do too, Albert. I don't know why that is. I really don't know why I can't let it go. Now I kind of feel for these people that they call hoarders. I understand now. Um, yeah, this is me. I buy stuff I think I may need and really don't need it. Yep. I've got some of that back there. I got a soft box in the box, never been opened back there. Never been opened. Yeah, I needed that. Uh, Roy talking about try to use everything, but I can't seem to find a new battery from a D1. And as time goes on, batteries are going to be a problem for newer Nikons. Yep. Yep. I did know of a place here in the States. They have a copy of just about every battery for cameras, well, just everything. And I think they used to advertise if they don't have it, they'll make it. I wonder if that would I wonder if that would go for a D1 battery. Mike Farwell sold some of my stuff. My D810 I think I'll keep, but the Z6 II I will sell for the next Nikon Z8. Yeah, speaking of which, I keep telling you guys, and I know I told you before, hero or zero, I'm willing to take the chance, but I think hero is going to be the right way to go on this. Nikon's getting ready to release a camera. I'm telling you right now. And I got more confident today when Frames TM dropped a video talking about he's got a source or an insider that says Nikon has a camera right now. It's a pre-production model. I'm telling you, it's coming, but now I'm afraid it's going to wind up being a APS-C camera, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, there you go. And you know, all lenses with AFS motors need to be used or they start to squeak and need repair. Yeah. Oh, I have camera bodies still in the box. Roy, you're worse than I am,
You can
man.
get more for them if you have the original box and the original paperwork.
I like this, Long Rider. If it's under $50, it doesn't count as a new purchase. Yeah, you go to dinner and spend $50, right?
You could say it still has the original warranty card. You could fill it out, right?
Yeah. Hope my wife is not listening to this, is what John Young says. I think mine is. So she'll be down here sorting it out for me. You're getting rid of this and this. That's actually what I need, because somebody that has no idea what it is and just says, get rid of it.
My wife's favorite saying is, I choose to ignore you.
Gustavo, the worst is when you have to buy a new piece of equipment because you can't find the one you bought several years ago. Been there, done that. Now I have extra though, but I can't find them either. Roy jumping on that topic, the Z8 may be called the Z90. Yeah. Well, I think if it's a Z90, it's going to be APS-C. So you're right. I think that it's going to be an APS-C camera only because, well, there's so many indicators out there that this was going to happen, and everybody refuses to, open their eyes and look at what's going on around them. But Nikon has been poisoning itself to do this for about a month and a half or 2 months now. We knew it had to happen eventually, and I think it's getting ready to happen. Well, no, I'm confident it's getting ready to happen. And now I'm leaning more towards it's going to be an APS-C. And with that, I think it's going to be a high-end APS-C on the same level as like a D500. It's not going to be a D500, just flat D500 mirrorless. But some of the tech out of the Z9 is getting ready to roll out. Why? Because Nikon needs to do that. It's time. They can't live on the Z9 forever. And I know, and everybody will say, but it's early. Doesn't matter. I'm right. You're wrong. Don't argue with me. And when it comes out, I want you to come back and apologize for doubting me.
Well, if you take Frame's somewhat wide dollar amount range that he gave, even at the high end, it would indicate it's not full frame.
Right, exactly. Because I don't think they're going back down with a lower model, a full frame camera right now. So it's going to be an upper echelon APS-C, which fits right into the information that Nikon has released lately. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But remember, 2 months ago, when I was talking about this stuff, I said that there may be technology in the next body that comes out from Nikon that doesn't even exist in the Z9. So we'll see if that happens as well, because technology continues to bloom. And Nikon's not going to hold it for 2 years just to put it in a flagship first. And I know I'm crazy, right? Well, we'll see. We will see. Uh, One item to feed my addiction would be a Z version of the DF. Yeah, not going to see that anytime soon, I don't think, David. It could happen, but I just don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Video, and again, I say it all the time, video is where the money is now. And niche cameras like the DF are just not in the budget, I think, right now for Nikon. My opinion. Welcome to hear your argument to it.
Well, take heed. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm catching up with everybody. Here's Photo Me Ike. All right. Z8 turns out to be DX format body. I will rethink the Z9 option. Well, Mike, it's the Z8 won't turn out to be a DX format. I don't think it's a single digit. I think it's going to be the next echelon below the Z9 as far as full frame goes. But there's still plenty of room in the dual numbering system. So Z90 does sound like a good call, and I think that that's what we're gonna see. I won't call it a Z90 yet, but I think that we're gonna see an APS-C camera, and it's gonna have AF that's, you know, it may not be exactly what's in the Z9, but it's definitely going to be from the Z9 AF series in this next body. Every body after this is going to have that. I'll tell you that right now. You can't release a camera without that anymore.
Yeah, Greg wants his 800, and I only know of one person out of about 4 or 5 that have told me they're on the list for the 800 that actually got one. Most people, I don't know, most people aren't getting that lens. I don't know what's going on.
You know, it'd be nice. It's a shame we live all over the world, all over the U.S. and all over the world, but to get together, all of us, with all of our extra stuff or stuff we don't need, and just have our own little swap meet with camera equipment. I'm sure I've got stuff people could use, and people got stuff that I could use, which is probably anything you got. I would want it, but Photo Me Ike. Yep. Hey, buddy, check your email if you'd like to join us. The links in an email to you. Vic Romaine sold some bodies. Let's see, sold some bodies and lenses to MPB. What's MPB?
Who that is?
I don't know what.
But I don't remember.
Yeah. To complete my F kit, the idea is to have film, DSLR, and Z body with F to Z mount. Yeah, I got it. All using the same glass. However, still have my Fuji and M4 thirds kits. You know, that new adapter that's out right now looks very interesting too. I watched the Math Photographer, his review of it, and I've seen other reviews, and I think that's a cool adapter. I hate to go buy Sony glass for my cameras, but it's good to know right now I can't buy any glass, or I'd be buying the 24 to 72.8. 100. There you go. This is killing my gas, my photography gas. Fill up a pickup. Man, I'm lucky to buy a stick of gum now. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's ridiculous. Timothy. If it's APS-C, hope it's a replacement for the D500 Plus. Yeah, I think it will be. It's my guess right now. My gut feeling is it's going to be an APS-C. And the only reason I say that now is because Canon just released the R7 and the R10. The R10 doesn't count really, but the R7. So we'll wait and see. I hope Frames is right on the price. If he is, then I'm pretty confident that that's what we're going to see is the D500-ish mirrorless. Okay, but it's going to be all new, obviously. Yeah, Albert talking about with a camera that's still in its package. I believe Roy's taking the cake. Greg, of course, looking for his 800.
Yeah,
uh,
you and many, many, many others.
Fuel must be cheaper where we are. I think typically in the U.S. it was cheaper, but I think we're fast approaching the world market for fuel, gasoline cost. I think that's intentional, but oh well. Tay, how you doing, sir? Good to see you, buddy. Uh, let's see, Z8 announcement at the end of the year. Yeah, I think we'll get a Z8 announcement. If nothing else, we're going to get a production announcement for that before the end of the year. It could be a possible announcement. I don't know. So Nikon Rumors isn't saying anything right now, and I don't understand why. But I guess he's waiting for absolute solid no ifs or buts. Uh, uh, before he actually talks about anything Nikon's going to announce. But again, going back and looking at the signs, I think it was very clear that they were going to do something here before too long. Uh, Here's my darling stepdaughter, lovely as she is. Consumer society, buying the best and newest meets our needs as humans. And I'm glad I got your support. Now, when your mother is on me about getting something, I need you to just step in and help me out. Oh, my bride is very good about that. Uh, let's see. Yeah, Mozman's still waiting on his 800. Mozman, we're still waiting to see some photos, man. We're anxious. We're impatient. See some photos out of that 200 F2 that you bought.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him.
Hassan.
Tried it yet?
Uh, nice approach, David. She who must be listened to talked me out of ordering the 800. Your financial advisor. Uh, so who Mike? So both camera bodies this year. Mike, we're getting one, no doubt, here soon. I, I I know that the Z8, or we're just calling it the Z8, but that D800 or D850 like camera, the small body Z9, obviously without everything the Z9 has for because of its physical size and everything else, but that camera I do believe will be announced this year. Again, I go back to it has to. I mean, Nikon's got to fill out the lower tier. So I was talking to Ronald Pollard, and I'll pause here for a second. I was talking to him, and we were talking about the message. Nikon is the dog that everybody wants to walk by and kick. And that's what the influencers are doing, right? We beat that dog to death ourselves talking about it. So what did they do? Because there is a lot more information out there, and they're trying their best to continue to hang on to picking on the Nikon Z9 now. However, because of photographers that are using the camera talking about how good it is, they've moved on to the lineup, the Nikon lineup. That's what you're seeing from them now. Nikon doesn't have a camera lineup. Yes, they have the Z9. Yes, it's great and blah, 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 blah. But not everybody can afford it or wants it. So Nikon doesn't have anything in the lineup. Now, before you start defending the Z6, Z6 II, Z7, Z7 II, where I agree with you to defend it, but they're using again, Nikon being the dog everybody wants to kick. They're still trying to get some traction out of Nikon for their channels. So that's what you can expect from them, which is why Nikon needs to respond with showing that they are filling out the field underneath the Z9. You'll see Nikon take off. You let them drop that pro body APS-C camera and the pro body uh, mini flagship or whatever you want to call it, D850 like camera. And it's going to take so much wind out of their sails, it won't be funny. I just can't anymore. How you doing, buddy?
We're all
Good to see
waiting.
you in there.
We're all waiting for this day to
Yeah,
happen. That's for sure. To just shut them all up.
yeah, yeah. So let me skip on down. Sorry if I pass up your comments here. Uh, let's see. Man, we got a lot going on in here already. Let's see.
Mr. Daniels is here, and Mr. Ishii is here.
Mr. Ishii, check your email. Let's see. So again, I was talking to Ron Pollard, and he's out shooting again. He's out in LA. He was going to try to get in touch with Vahagan while he's out there. But here's a man that shoots Nikon, shoots the Z9. His photos look fantastic, and he's just continuously praising that body. As a matter of fact, today he said, it's almost like I'm stealing their money. It's so easy to shoot with that camera. All right. Mozman responded, got out and shot it today. Good. Can't wait to see the photos, Moz. Yep, here we go.
If Nikon, if the next body coming out is APS-C, I really think Nikon needs to open up, the licensing agreements with Sigma, Tamron, and Tokina. So you have some higher name brand lens companies helping out with the APS-C lens.
Hello.
Hang on a second, Vahagan. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's going to happen again. I think you nailed it, Jeff, on the slide that we were looking at. The licensing with other whatever that Nikon talked about. Maybe that's what they're talking about, is licensing with other lens manufacturers.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome the man, the myth, the rock and roll photographer, Mr. Vahagan.
Hello.
What's
Hello,
up,
hello.
Vahagan?
Live from Connecticut. It's Saturday night with Chuck Talks.
Yeah, I'm not too far from Saturday Night Live. That's for certain.
What's going on, gentlemen?
So are you home, or you out shooting a gig?
Nah, man, I'm home. Is my mic sounding okay?
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to see your video. I saw the title. I started laughing, and I said, "Oh, I got to watch that as soon as I can."
Welcome. Hey, what's going on, guys? Did you guys see Touch Life's interview video? Good job, Touch Life.
Yeah, very good.
Rock and roll, man.
Man, there is something weird in your audio.
Is there? Okay. What is it? Is it sounding deep?
Yeah.
Yeah, real deep.
Yeah. Almost like it's slowed down. I agree with you, Vitali. That's definitely the way I see it right now. I had hoped that it would be the other way around. However, it looks like that's the way it's going to be: APS-C, Pro Body, and then Z8 coming after that.
Is this better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this again. Live from Connecticut. It's Saturday night with Chuck Live. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, fun is, as they say. What else are you going to do on a Saturday night? That sounds bad, though. When
I'll
you
take
say
that as a compliment. At least I'm something to do on a Saturday night.
Yep.
Well,
Right,
that just means I'm not 20 anymore, Chuck, or I wouldn't be here on a Saturday night.
Yep. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. I gotta say this. Ready?
Yep.
Ready? Here we go. Mozman.
The Moz.
Take keys in the house.
Mr. T-Mid, how are you doing, buddy?
What's going on, gentlemen? What's the topic for today?
Well, two topics. One is are you one of those people that's a gear-holic? You never have enough. You just got to continue to get more. And the other is because Frames dropped his video today talking about the APS-C camera or suspected APS-C camera. He didn't say it was, but he suspects it is. That's going to drop here soon.
That's cool. I gotta send Frames a message there. See what he knows.
Yeah, he said he'll be following it up in about 10 days with hopefully more information because it was very limited.
Figured it would be, yeah.
Hey Chuck, how you feeling, man?
I feel better than I did the last few days, that's for certain. Mowed the grass today, got that out of the way. Had to be done. Daggone it. Looking for something here, sorry. All right. There you go, Vahagen.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That was just some humor for you guys to have some fun Saturday night. You know what I mean? John Ishii, what's going on, brother?
So now you and Mozman are going to have to get out with the dueling 200 F2s.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, we will. We'll definitely will, man. Just we were gonna do it this weekend, but a few things came up in the morning and I just couldn't get out. But
Man, trying to get through.
I had to ask Mozman if he's feeling better. I know he wasn't doing too well.
yeah, he's good now. He's over it.
He's good.
No, Robert, it's not. I knew it wasn't Nikon rumors because Peter's been quiet on everything. I think he's waiting for something else. But I'll say this. I think I brought it up when I was talking about why I believe that this stuff is going to happen. Because Nikon India jumped the gun on releasing all the press photos and marketing stuff on the Z9. And they dropped it early and then, of course, pulled it right back. So there's probably might be a good source over there somewhere, you know?
Hey, friends better be careful.
Why, he's not a Nikon ambassador.
I guess.
Nikon really needs a crop sensor camera, and I can't think of a worse moment to announce one than now. The cost of Fujifilm as well as Canon for Nikon, it's full frame or bust. Yeah, I agree. I didn't expect anything to drop so soon, but remember what, 2 weeks ago? Go back and look at the streams. Is Nikon ready to launch a Z500 or D500 mirrorless? I had a feeling then too, but we'll see what happens.
Well, if they can get that out, I mean, actually start shipping an APS-C before the end of the year and announce a Z8 by the end of the year, then that won't be too bad.
No, I agree. If they'll do that. And
if they'll do that, yeah.
I think
we're all guessing and hoping.
Yep.
Yeah, Greg. This Tuesday, Bayou Josh is our featured guest, and we're gonna have some fun, right, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to him about his trip to Alaska.
Did you see his video footage of the bears? That was great.
Yeah. It was. I mean, that's a fantastic opportunity to go up to Alaska. Anybody that gets to do that, I think it's a fantastic trip. I'm sure. Talking about birds and wildlife.
I wonder how much it costs just to do that.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, whether you do it through a group guide or you just do it yourself, research it and pay for it. I don't know.
Oh, he made it out like it was just the three of them, and no comment on whether they had anything to protect themselves if the bears got too close or not. But if they get dumped on an island and the guy on the plane says see you in 8 hours, you hope that he does see you in 8 hours.
Well, my question was, I thought it was a bit sketchy, being out there. I'm wondering if they were actually carrying a sidearm. They didn't have a rifle that I could see, but I'm wondering if they were carrying a sidearm, because a brown bear with cubs, man.
Yeah, to have nothing is, you got some brass ones, as they say, if you have nothing.
Yeah. So that's kind of stuff I'm curious to know, and I'm sure he may let us know other videos he's got coming out. Yeah, no, you're not selfish, Roy. A lot of people are wanting the 2 to 600, or the 400 PF lens. Yeah. So somebody had mentioned that they're rounding out the current lens lineup right now, and they said that they would be up to 50 by 2025. That doesn't leave a lot of room in there for a lot of APS-C lenses, does it?
No, they don't really have. I think they have one zoom DX zoom on the roadmap and one DX prime, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's nowhere near enough.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert, it has to have IBIS, and it will. I mean, I'm confident in saying it will, especially at that price point. That, if we're talking up to $2,500, possibly, it'll have IBIS. The buffer on it will probably definitely be better than the R7. And I'm not picking on the R7 because a lot of the reviewers have talked about that, how shallow the buffer is on it. So, it may not do 30 frames a second or 40 frames a second, but I think now everybody's satisfied with, if it does 20, that's more than enough. I don't think that's a marketing tool anymore to say my camera shoots more frames per second than yours does, because most people are finding that 20 is probably the sweet spot if you even have to go that high. So it's definitely going to be something we're waiting for. I mean, I just want to see what kind of rabbit they pull out of the hat here.
I tell you, I very rarely shoot 20. Very, very rarely. For all the negative BS. Oh, it doesn't shoot 30 like the Sony. It's like, go ahead and knock yourself out with 30 and have fun going through all those images. You can have it. 20 is more than enough, way more than enough. And I don't even hardly ever use 20. I mean, I really don't.
Long Rider, Roy's talking to Long Rider. APS-C with the 800 would be good for photoing insects in flight. It's funny, Roy. I was thinking about today, talking about this to myself, which I do often. The APS-C body with my 1-400 plus the TC2X. I could have 300 to 1200 millimeter.
Then you're done. No more lenses. You don't even have to buy a lens. You're done.
Would that be wild? 300 to 1200 millimeter focal range with that camera. It's a pretty light 1200 millimeter.
Hey, guess who's back?
Oh,
Guess who's back in the comment section? Agnetha.
all right.
She's messaged a few of my videos. So it's good to see Agnetha back,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to see Agnetha in here. Yeah. You're right, Ike. Better get those MPS applications in, because that Z500 is going to be hard to get. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You better be on the phone to your local brick and mortar, or it doesn't have to be local, but to a smaller store to get on a list quick if you want that camera.
Hey, Chuck, guess what I'm shooting tomorrow?
What are you shooting tomorrow?
I got an event, and just for you, I'm going to make a video on dance floor video.
Yep.
with the Z9, and I'm shooting a bridal shower in the morning. So it's gonna be fun, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Shooting with the 70 to 200 again too.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna shoot with that just to highlight that lens. But I'm just gonna shoot and do some video and try some autofocus modes
Yeah.
and make a video out of it, you know.
I'm looking at what Chuck has on the screen here, and I would say to Jeff, I'd say, I mean, you did really good at that price for both of you, because when I look at it going through like a photo-centric group going to Alaska, it's typically a week at best. It's 12 grand, doesn't include airfare, doesn't even include like if you may stay in one part of Alaska overnight, and that one night isn't covered. The rest of the nights are. And then of course, if you're traveling by yourself, which would be my case, then you got to pay a penalty for single occupancy costs of a room unless you find
Yeah.
someone to go with you. So it makes it really, really crazy to justify it,
That's why I don't buy into all the guide, travel guide or whatever. I mean, you can hire local when you're there for this, that, or whatever. But I'm just going to buy my own plane ticket, set up my own hotel, and go if I'm going somewhere.
That's why I want to ask Josh how much he paid
Yeah.
and what he did.
You saw what was on the screen, what Jeff and his wife paid, 10 grand for their trip.
Yeah, that's a 600 millimeter lens.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's a lot. I mean, I guess with the airfare and the
I mean,
think
he got
the
a great deal. Well, he's saying why he got a great deal. His brother-in-law was a sales rep in Alaska, and he knew all the ins and outs. So he saved a lot of money.
wait a minute, 10 days. Who, Josh?
No, Jeff and Leslie from
It's how long was he gone for? A week?
16 days, he said.
16 days.
16 days.
10 grand for two people for 16 days is like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Robert Daniels, Z500 will be priced 25. I agree with you, Robert. Somewhere in there, maybe a little less. Who knows? Depends. They surprised us with the Z9. This could be a surprise as well.
What's up, John Ishii?
It'll have to match the specs. Minimum D500 and AF of the Z9. Basically, a baby Z9 is what it should be. Yeah, it's going to be somewhere in that ballpark. It's really hard to speculate on every one of the specifications, but I think it's going to be in that ballpark, Robert.
I mean, it's going to be better than the D500 anyway, because it's going to have better video specs.
Right.
It's going to have really good video specs. I'm sure it's going to be at least 6K, and it's probably going to even do more frames per second than the D500 did. So, I mean, it's going to be better than a D500. I'd be shocked if it's not.
Yeah, Phil says he's waiting on the Z8 instead. I hear you, Phil.
Yeah, Robert, I'm just waiting on Mossman to get that lens, because if Mossman gets it, there's a review coming.
You think Robert, you're saying the Z500 will be photocentric? I think it's going to lean, it'll probably lean closer to, but it's still going to have some pretty nice video specs in it as well. Again, I think Nikon knows that. Remember the market view that they just shared? They know that video is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be 6K or 6.3K oversampled 4K, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I don't think it'll be 8K, but it'll at least be.
No, it won't be 8K because I'm guessing because it's APS-C.
And it'll be 10-bit.
Yes, it will have internal 10-bit. Yes,
yeah.
You can bet on that.
So thing is in here, right? Photo, me Ike is in here.
Yep. Ike's in here.
Hey, Photo.
T-Mid's in here.
Next time I'm in Seattle, man, I'm gonna hit you up.
Just get a guide on the net. There you go.
Hey, Singh is in here. I haven't seen him in a while. What's happening, man? I know he comments in our videos. I just haven't seen him in a while. How you doing, man?
All right. Mr. Pollard is live right now over on YouTube.
Who?
Mr. Pollard, my brother Pollard.
You should come on the stream.
He's shooting, man. He's got a gig. He's probably just on for a minute saying something about what he's doing there. Did I miss something about the Z500 release or wishful thinking? No, we've just been mulling it over here, talking about it, what the specs might be or whatever.
You could have had a little fun with them, Chuck, first before you told.
Yeah, I should have. Long Rider, you think the Z500 will have a stacked sensor? Yes, I actually think it might. It's not going to shock me if it doesn't, but I think it might. Ike, when Vaughan comes to Seattle, I'm going to tell him I don't hang out like JP.
Hey, man, you better not.
Oh, man.
I know you hang out, brother.
All right, Ike, you working somewhere tonight? You shooting tonight? I tried to get Mr. Ryan Troy to jump in here with us, but he didn't respond. I don't know if he's shooting tonight or family obligations or whatever.
He hasn't posted the videos for a long time, I think.
Yeah, he may be busy. Oh, man.
His last video was over a month ago.
Yeah.
But
Roy talking about 8K videos, nice to have feature. Uh-oh. Here you go. New England's hottest new wedding photographer. Someone who has great experience with the Z9 and the Z6 II. Mr. Vitale from Touch Life Studios.
Hey.
Gentlemen, good evening.
Good
hey,
evening.
man. What's going on? Good job on the video, man.
Oh, thanks.
That rocked, seriously.
Thanks.
I'm getting into more interviews like that. I want to do that. It's so fun. You know what I mean?
I do actually find that I really enjoy doing interviews. It's a low stress and it's very rewarding, and you get to put other people out there.
Yep. So
Greg,
what have you been shooting?
So lately, just a lot of portraits. Recently, I haven't been too much on the YouTube because my kids are growing up, spending a lot of time in the soccer fields.
Yeah.
So I've been shooting kind of a lot of personal work for kids. My kids do soccer. So I've been testing Z9 in and out. I mean, it's a machine gun, as many of you know. And just playing with video, helping out other people when I can. We recently went, which I'm still working on putting out another video at some point, hopefully. Went on vacation, and I brought my Z9 with me to a couple islands, and that was something. So hopefully I'll be able to get around to make that video as well.
Okay, good. I was trying to sign you up for a wedding. Or actually not a wedding. A friend of mine out in LA, his or one of his friends, she just came down to the city here in New York City. She does a lot of bridal fashion, and she was looking for somebody here just to shoot some bridal fashion shots. So I was signing you up for that, by the way, but I guess they found somebody after all.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of talented people out there.
Yeah. He asked me
Hey,
if I knew anybody, and I said, absolutely. And then before I could even ask you if you'd even be interested, they'd found somebody. So
Excellent.
go
hey,
ahead,
Greg.
Vaughan.
Greg, he's asking where my video feed is. I didn't get a chance to charge my Z6 batteries. So, and I had a lot of setting up to do. So that's why I'm just audio only, man.
We just thought you weren't wearing any clothes.
No.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that too. But hey, Vitaly, I want to
Yes.
ask you something. What are you monetized already? Did you sign up?
I did sign up for it. To be honest, I have no idea what this means in a sense of producing videos, type of content, how often. I am so green to this, it's a black box for me. I just hit the button monetize, but I have no idea what this means.
Let me know if you need some help, bro. Because I there's a few steps you gotta take.
No, I can definitely take any advice I can to to see how this whole thing is gonna roll. So
Yeah, yeah. They need to verify you, like bank account, this, that, so they know where to put the your monthly revenue and stuff. Your millions.
millions of
Well,
yeah, I guess.
don't you have an overseas bank account now, Vahagan?
Yeah, I got one in the Panama Canal. And thank you, Phil.
I was really intrigued by Hagen by your video. I didn't get to see it yet. I just happened to turn the click on YouTube and it says something Nikon Z9 no, and now I am burning to watch it.
Yeah, it's just a I want just watch it. I guess it's hard to explain.
It's got to be a setup. It's got to be a setup.
Who was Vahagan talking about from Canada? I think Chuck knows the answer to that.
No, actually.
What? No.
Are you talking DP review?
No, man. My latest video when I mentioned somebody from Canada. No?
No.
There's a lot of hints in that statement I made.
Okay.
Didn't you have a Nikon ambassador on one of your shows from Canada?
Oh, there you go. Albert got it.
No. Well, I'd have never guessed that in a million years.
Well, Hagen, I'm just curious. What kind of channels do you typically use to be able to invite different viewers to your show? Because I think you had a pretty interesting guests. And I've had a chance to watch some of them when I'm in the soccer fields, literally. How do you reach out to them? Do you just get the email you find and invite them in?
Yeah, just send them an email. Send them a few links that what we've done. They click on the links, they watch it, and they see that okay, this guy's been on, and if it works out for them, they come on. Just send them an email. That's it.
That's excellent. One thing I like about these things is that sometimes it doesn't cost you anything to ask.
Yeah, man, and I've gotten ignored too many times.
Worst thing they could say is no, or say nothing.
Yeah, they generally don't send you anything, any bad, replies or anything. They just don't answer if they're not going to.
Phil, are you serious with that question? What do you mean clickbait? Come on, man. John Young, you starting shit?
Well, Vahagan, you're saying that you're learning from the best. Remember, you did say that.
Yeah.
So here you go, Vahagan. It's question and answer time for you. So here.
I commented on one of his videos. That's all I did. And it everybody liked it and commented, and it was number one. on his latest video, and he had no other choice but to read it. And then I guess he read it, and
All right, James. Thanks for dropping by, buddy.
you know what though? I wish. Hey, what's up, James? Hey, I wish that he would come on again because I have so many questions to ask him now. You know, back then I was new to all this live streaming, or it wasn't even live, but I was new to it, and I was kind of like, "Oh my God, you're Poland, right?" But now it's like, "Hey, I'm so like focused on the questions that I'd be all over him, like like you don't know."
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about this one, guys, if it got resolved with because there's a lot of heated conversations I've heard.
Yeah, we're just having fun. Yeah. Was that? Oh.
Let's see here.
So what have you heard, Vitali?
Oh, it's just more of something Jared Poland mentioned about Nikon that not as
Oh
great
yeah.
as and Bahagan had some feelings about it, and he responded. And
Yeah, in a nutshell, I called them out for, some videos they made, and they replied. Well, he replied, and then I called him out on that too, and that was about it. You know, just basically on the Z. What is it? The R7 R10 video. How he just stuck it to the Z9, like he couldn't stop mentioning the Z9, and I basically called him out on it. So
is there actually, since you mentioned the R7, is there anything good about those cameras? I haven't really had a chance to follow up with all these new upcomings.
I mean, the R7 looks good. The R10 is very, very budget conscious.
The R10 is just an entry level,
It's single card slot.
yeah.
hey, I wasn't afraid, Long Rider. I was just a little, I guess, surprised. That's all I was. But
Well,
I
he's
grew
a
up.
hard guy to figure out how you want to approach him, because
Well, I grew up watching him. You know what I mean? Like when you grow up watching somebody for years, back to like the grandma days and like the days where his mom was in the hospital and he documented all that. Like I grew up watching him, and yeah, he is an inspiration, obviously. So having him live talking to him, it was kind of like a big deal. I'm not gonna lie and say it's not a big deal. So it was.
well, I think he's gotten to the point now where it's more about keeping the numbers up at any cost.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Photo Me Ike. Yeah, man, they're not. I don't think they're gonna ever do it. I wish they do, which would be a great show, but they're not gonna do it.
Uh,
Yeah, Albert, I haven't really, cracked that nut with camera conspiracies. He is very like talented, and I don't know how Chuck feels about him. What's his name, Chuck?
Casey right there on the screen.
Casey. Okay.
Yeah, he's different.
He has an interesting personality.
Yeah.
Touch Live. Here you go. Love your style of videos. I subscribed a while ago. Just recognized you.
Thanks, Phil.
Hey, you got the
The
coolest hair, man, Vitali.
coolest hair. I think this is the ugliest hair.
Well,
You
you
have
got hair.
You
I
have
got
hair.
The funny thing is, I sometimes ask my wife for feedback, and she comments on it, and she responds in a way that she tries not to hurt my feelings. She has a certain expectations. She looks at the content, she looks at the quality, but then she also looks at the personality and she says, my personality kills her on videos. So I think I got to work on that.
Just be yourself, man. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. So I'm seeing that Photo-gear-holic is working on some kind of a project that he had to sign the NDA.
Yep.
That's great.
All right. So what do you guys want to talk about in the chat?
We want to talk about that beautiful picture you have on that monitor.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask about this one. Just popped up on my feed too. Is the Fujifilm X-H2S, if this is the right proper name?
Yeah.
A lot of people commented, or I've seen some kind of reviews briefly, that it is a video powerhouse.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys had any response, had a chance to watch it, because I don't disagree. I think Fuji, and I don't own any Fuji, but everything that I've seen from other videos, and I think maybe Vahagan even used a Fuji to a point. They had a great colors. They have great bit rates, and just it looks like they really have a almost like a niche in some way in certain video specs.
Well, DP Review had a pre-production unit, and they commented on. They kind of thought the autofocus had some issues, but they did stress it was a pre-production model. But the specs are really good. But it sounds like if they get rid of some of the things that DP Review saw on the pre-production model and correct it, then they think it's going to be a great camera. But I mean, at $2,500, basically, that's kind of hard to swallow for. That's a little bit up there for APS-C. But then again, if they come out with a D500 plus or whatever you want to call it, I'm sure it's going to be priced similar to that.
Yeah, it's APS-C, man. So it kind of like, I don't know. I have the XH1, like you said, Vitali, but I mean, I don't know. I'm a full frame kind of guy, so.
But I wonder, when it comes to a video, right? Look at all these ARRI Alexa.
Yes.
35 millimeters. I mean, those are not budget films. Those are multi-million-dollar productions.
Right.
And that's what we go and pay $15, at movie theaters to watch. So I don't know how much full frame versus a crop sensor makes a difference when it comes to video.
That's Super 35, man. Wow.
I agree with you, Vitali. That's the difference. Is in video, I think the playing field is more equal.
Because I think at that point it comes down to the bit rate, and I'm so far from being a videographer, but bit rate, colors, whatever this, ProRes something, or raw capabilities and whatnot. I think that's what they're really looking at. I don't know if it's necessarily, crop sensor or full frame is what really drives their decisions.
Well, I think it's gonna sell well. Fuji color is great. You can't deny that.
I mean, if you're already in their system,
yes,
and you're going to jump for it. If you're in their system and you already have the lenses, you're gonna stay with them. You're not going to jump ship. So,
did you guys watch that Super 35 ARRI video?
Yes, $78,000 for the box.
So that's my next question. So is it the sensor? Is it the processor? What's the magic behind that? Because it just like the video on it is just so awesome.
17 stops of dynamic range to start with.
Yeah. That's just great. I mean, I think they're the leader right now. What do you guys say?
They have been. They never relinquished being the leader. So, Ari is the camera. Red's tried to compete with them, and while Red is, a great camera as well, it's no Ari. Red is the poor man's cine camera.
I mean, isn't it human eye has like 20 whatever points of dynamic range, and looking at 17, I mean it's pretty close to a human eye almost.
Yeah. So it also has, being a cine body, it also has all the built-in features that you need to do a full-fledged, real honest production, movie production. Everything is built into the camera.
Yeah, did you see those flames when they were shooting the flamethrower? Wow, the fire, that thing looked like so real.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was kidding around with Frame Voyager watching the announcement for the new RE body, and they were trying to guess what the price was going to be, and I threw in there $15,000. And of course, they all jumped all over me. But I mean, I knew it was going to be a lot more than that. But talking to a bunch of film nerds, and there's nothing wrong with being a film nerd, but they're all about RE and all the producers and the cameras they're using for this and that, whatever. But that's a camera. You want to shoot Netflix episodes? That's a camera that does it right there.
Yeah, but I mean, that's for us. We're not shooting movies or anything like that. So,
No,
you know what I mean?
nobody in this chat considers buying an RE, I'm guessing. And to rent it, it'll cost a fortune to rent it.
And that's what they do. They rent it. Woo.
Some do, yeah. A lot of people do.
Yeah. So
It's going to cost a fortune to rent it. Not to mention the deposit you'll have to put down. Sign your house over as a deposit.
yeah.
I wonder if a lot of the studios just rent the gear, and then they have like a maintenance contract, or well, they rent it because if something goes wrong, then they go there and they give them another one, or they fix it on site or what have you, and it's probably more cost effective to rent if you're really into studio shooting.
Yeah, Red again is a competitor, but Ike's talking about some of the issues maybe with Red. What 20 years ago, maybe no, 15 to 20 years ago, Red was making a name for itself, and you could pick up a Red body. I don't know which one, Red Dragon, or I don't know all the models, but you could get one then for about $18,000. You can't touch it now for I don't even know what their current price is, and even then they were 3 times or 4 times cheaper, 5 times cheaper than RE at the time. But now the other thing is that you got to buy lenses for these cameras. That's just the body. The body alone is 75,000 on this new RE Alexa. RE Alexa 35, I think is what it is. That doesn't count for all the accoutrements that you're going to have to buy, all the accessories that you'll have to buy. And man, we don't even want to get started on lenses and lens costs, because you're not putting a $3,500 lens on an RE Alexa. I mean, you're crazy to spend that kind of money on that camera.
Do you know if
So,
they're using a proprietary mount?
no, I think that Ike, what do they have? I believe it's a Canon mount. It seems like everybody went with that. It can't be really. It's a PL mount maybe, because RE has their own glass, which again it costs more than the camera body, if you can believe that.
Have you guys seen a movie? I think it's in 1917.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about a war, and I think that movie was shot on ARRI as a single shot.
Oh, there's a lot of movie. There's a lot. Like all the shows on HBO, like they're all shot in ARRI. Like all those those shows that you watch and the movies even, they're all shot with ARRI. I don't know. Do they still use film for motion picture?
No, it's unique if they do. It's
Yeah.
all digital now, pretty much.
But here's the thing with all this talk about ARRI and Red. I mean, have you seen anybody on YouTube actually pushing the limits on the Z9, like on video? Is there a video out that
No,
actually shows somebody pushing the limits on what this camera can actually do in cinematic wise?
all we've seen so far are video clips, really, not movies, not shorts or anything else. You know, I was waiting for. I follow indie filmmakers on every media platform because I'm waiting for them to really come out with something strong using the Nikon Z9.
Yeah, but I think if you push this camera to the limit, I think you will get really good results. Me, I'm not a filmmaker. I don't know how to grade video to save my life. But if somebody with like hand-on knowledge can do that, like to see actual what the Z9 can actually do, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
it won't be me because I'm not going to shoot 8K and deal with the file sizes and then have to buy, 2 terabyte memory cards and all that kind of stuff. I mean, especially if you're doing it and you're not making any money at it.
Yeah, you need a big time. You need a big time. Like it's not only the camera, you need the lenses, you need the lighting, you need the crew. It's a big production.
Well, I think a Lone Rider just commented right about that they sell those cine lenses in kits, right? And all
yes.
those lenses actually they are identical size, I believe, right? In
So
order to be able to do proper focus pulling, but they just have a different focal length.
they're actually identical size and weight because they're mounting them on gimbals all the time, and it saves setup time when switching lenses. Is one of the reasons for the size and the weight. So you get a 40 millimeter or 30 millimeter that's as big as a 100 millimeter.
Yeah, and again, I mean, who's gonna actually use a hybrid camera for a feature film? I mean, that you'd be crazy to do that. I mean,
Well,
the use case for the Z9 is not that. The use case for the Z9 is to be a hybrid camera. Like, for example, what Vitali did, interviews. That's beautiful camera for that. Wedding video, maybe indie film. But if you're gonna be doing a feature film that's gonna cost you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe millions, I don't think you would be using this. I would think you would be renting an Alexa or something like that.
well, a lot of black magic cameras are used for B-roll in a lot of movies
Hmm.
because of their size, and I guess well, the other issue is trying to match cameras. You can't just have like four different cameras shooting video. It just makes it a nightmare to try to edit in the end. So cameras have to be matched almost.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Z9 owners. Have you guys tried night photography with your cameras
Yes.
with like higher ISOs?
Yeah.
Now, what do you guys think?
Are you talking like ISO 20,000 or something like that? Or, I mean,
No, I
I've
mean,
shot very early morning. I shot at ISO like 14,000. But and with the noise reduction software with Topaz, no problem.
hmm.
The old accoutrements.
Hey, Vitali, how do you like your SL60? It's nice. I got a couple of those.
It's good. I mean, it's actually right here, lighting me right now. It's fine. It's a budget light, really.
Yeah.
and it works. I have never used one of those. What do you call those? A lot of YouTubers use it.
Aperture.
Aperture.
LED.
Yeah, I I never had a need for it. I'm sure they're probably fine, and you can dial your proper or higher exposure or whatever. But
No, it's good enough. I mean, it works.
no, absolutely, yeah.
That's Ike's phrase, and I like it. It's good enough.
It's good enough.
It works. I mean, it's a daylight or lamp. It's a daylight, so it's strong enough.
I mean, I think with a lot of videos that we make, right, is we don't need a high-end cameras. It honestly comes down to like I want it, and not because I need it, right? So there are certain things like I'm not interested in this light. If I have a candle that lights me and it works for me, I'll take it. But I don't need $1,000 lighting. You know what I mean? It's not something that's gonna make me feel excited. And I think it's really good enough for what we're trying to make. I don't know if you can tell from the video necessarily what kind of light is being used, right?
Well, video gets into the same issue that photography is in often. With you've got all the pixel peepers. I don't know what you call them in the video world, but they're talking about. Well, I see a green tint, or I see a shift when you raise the power. A tint shift when you. I mean, they get crazy with that, and that's one of the things that Amaran and oh shoot, just said their name. That's what they're trying to accomplish, is having this great CRI and color, fidelity in the light, to try to compete with other brands that have been in the market for so long on professional sets, and they've done a real good job. You're right, Vitalik. Me sitting here, what do I care? This works fine. And we said Jeffrey, he gets tired and has to move around. So yeah, that's for most people. You're right. It's not going to matter. Just like you're either having to gel your lights uh, if they're daylight balanced, or um, for certain things that you're shooting or whatever. And yeah, there's just a lot that goes into it. But again, back to what you were saying, I don't need it either. I don't need 8K right now. Um, 4K is fine for anything that I'd want to shoot. Now I need to learn codecs and frame rates so I can actually shoot in the right frame rate and codec to make it manageable for me to actually edit. I don't even want to shoot in RAW. One, if I had the software to actually edit RAW, Nikon or in RAW, I don't want to do it because there's a lot of work that goes into that, editing RAW video.
So, Chuck, I am so far from being an expert on video, but everything that I've learned so far, and I'm more than happy to take a criticism or correction on this one, is if you are shooting, let's say, so you're sitting right now in front of a camera, we're sitting in front of a camera, right?
Yep.
Maybe it's a webcam or actual camera that you're using. If you are properly lit and you use proper exposure on your camera, whether it is 8-bit or 10-bit, if it's properly lit, I don't think it's going to make any difference.
You're
But
right.
again, I could be completely wrong. Now, when it makes a difference, is that if you're shooting outdoors at different conditions with the daylight, we have our clouds coming all the time and people in the shadow, that's when basically it comes into play. But if you're indoors and you're stationary like we are right now, I don't think it makes any difference. When it comes to 1080, 4K, 8K, that only comes down to resolution, and you can actually punch in if you really want to.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. If the subject's lit right, but if you have a high dynamic range scene, then obviously that's where the big cine cameras really sing. Potato Jet, I don't know if you ever watch him. You need to check out his review on the new Arri Alexa 35. And he kind of goes into some of that stuff, talking about where all that dynamic range comes into play. Shooting indoors with a bright window behind a subject, and the subject still has information, you know. Try that with our cameras. And you got a silhouette. You have to light the person, but you know, but you're absolutely right. If you light correctly, is 10-bit or 8-bit make a difference? No, because you're not manipulating it very much. And I think that's where 8, 10, 12, whatever bit comes into play. When you've got to manipulate those files so much, you've got a lot more data to move. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it gives you more latitude in making adjustments if you need to. But like you said, if you have a controlled environment, it's really not going to matter.
Yeah. But how controlled is it? It's easy for, like you were doing with your interviews. Yeah, that kind of stuff. You can do that. But for anybody that wants to be creative or outside, I mean, you're shooting with ND filters and all kinds of things to try to control the light and capture more dynamic range that way. But in a setting where it's a static location, yeah, just set the light up right, set the camera up right, and you should be good to go. Somebody asked this question, what cameras is everybody using? Yeah, you're right, Greg. I'm on a Z6. That's my Z6 with the 14-30 on it. How about you? How about you, Jeff?
I'm just using my Apple Studio monitor, what I have on the computer.
And it actually looks okay too.
Yeah.
Better than, you know, years ago with laptop built-in cameras. How about you, Vitali?
I'm just using my webcam. Well, not a webcam, iMac,
Okay.
camera built in.
And that's the reason you guys can't see Vahagan, because his batteries are dead for his Z6. He's got them charging. Oh.
Yeah,
But
there's a
yeah,
big discussion here going on with the overheating of cards and stuff. That Mosman's been involved with a discussion here, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the gentleman's name because I'll butcher it too bad. Sanjapal Singh, and he was using sand. Let me go back. I think he was using SanDisk cards, and they're not. I don't even think they're on the list of recommended cards for the Z9. I mean, I think you got to go with the Delkin Black or the Pro Grade or something. You know, if you want to have the optimum performance.
So I've never recorded for more than probably 30 or 40 minutes, but I did notice when you take out the card CF Express out of the Z9, it pretty warm. I mean, it can warm up your hands.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if it's a sign of camera overheating or it's a normal thing. I'm not sure.
Well,
It's more of the card, because even if I'm uploading videos using my card reader and I put the card in the card reader and I have a bunch of videos that are not real long, but I'm sequentially putting them onto my computer. When I pop that card out, it's pretty warm. And that's just in the card reader. So
I am really curious what actually that means when it comes to when these cards are being engineered. Is it the data moves too fast and there's a lot of friction between some data moves that what heats up the camera, or I am just burning to know the reason for those things.
yeah, it's definitely moving data. That's
yeah, it has
that's
to
the
do with
issue
the
for
amount of
developing
data.
heat. Yep. And that comes up in, I think, the video that Potato Jet did. He was talking about, our Alexa have overheated as well. All have, I guess, at some point in time. But one of the issues they found was everybody likes to mark their cards and put a piece of tape on the card with, whatever scene they're shooting or whatever, so that they know once it comes out of camera. Anyway, that's a big no-no, because the cards, the stickers and the things on the cards that they use are all part of the heat sink process. and they have to touch the side of the camera. I didn't know any of this either. I thought it was very interesting. So the camera body is a heat sink, but they actually have all these different pieces built in to draw the heat away from the sensor and the processor. So very interesting conversation they were having. I believe it was in the Potato Jet video. So yeah, the cards are going to heat up because they are part of the cooling process in the camera. That was explained.
You know, Chuck, I would love to be a fly in the wall and be in one of those executive boardrooms when they make decisions about what's going to go into Z9 or Z8, and what they're really thinking about it, how they make those, and I'm sure it comes down to marketing and how much profit they keep. I mean, they are for-profit company, obviously, right? So they have to be thinking about those things.
Yeah, you're right, and that's where the engineers earn their money. It's one thing to develop the aesthetics of a camera body, and another for all the other engineers, all the other departments to develop all the hardware that's going to go inside. But somebody's the mechanical engineer that's sitting there figuring out how are we going to dissipate the heat, how are we going to build this, where the heat sink's going to be, what openings will offer an opportunity for the camera to cool down. All that goes into that discussion. I think those are the guys that probably never get any glory. You just build a frame, man. What do you know?
Is Vahagan still here?
Yeah.
Vahagan, I watched your video on 105 versus 7200.
Yeah.
How do you like that 105?
I love it. Great lens, man.
Do you find it is being a practical lens, or it's more of just nice to have?
No, I find it more for macro work than portraits. You can use it for portraits, but
Be right back, guys. I got to go get more Kleenex.
it's a great lens, man. No complaints. It's $1,000. If you're doing weddings, if you I don't know what lenses you have, but if you have a portrait lens,
Is it a fast focusing lens?
yeah, it's quick. It's quick. It's not faster than the 7200. I think the 7200 is faster. But for macro, man, I love that lens, man. The 105Z is a lens to get.
Because I've noticed that a lot of these macro lenses, they just they take they provide photos of a unique feel and look that other lenses wouldn't have.
Yeah, if I'm doing macro, I don't even autofocus. I manually focus. So yeah, it's just tough to autofocus, like especially if you're shooting like jewelry, at weddings. It's so tough to do autofocus because if you're hand holding your camera, it's like if you move, even if you breathe, you're out of focus. So so I find it manual focus. If you have a tripod, better, but I hand hold it. And what I do is I put the ISO, I boost the ISO up a little bit, and I use if I'm doing rings, I use a LED light, just to light up the jewelry. But I don't use auto for that. But if you're doing, I guess, insects or like insects or something like that out in daylight, I haven't tried it with the new 105 yet, but
I've tried the it on flowers and with butterflies and stuff, and it's great. But I wouldn't buy the 105 macro with the intent of saying that's my portrait lens. I would say you buy it because you want a macro lens, but it can do well as a portrait lens. But I wouldn't buy it primarily for portraits. I would get, hopefully they come out with the 85 1.2, or like Verhagen says, the 70 to 200 is really good for
Now,
that.
yeah, the Vitali, if you own that 105, would you use it for portraits?
Would I use it? Yeah, I mean, I probably would shoot, but again, I don't necessarily know how it render when it in comparison to maybe actual portrait lens.
Yeah.
Um, 7200. I've used both. Canon version RF, which is beautiful lens. It really is. And I am interested in 85 or 1.4 or 1.2 if and when it comes out by Nikon, the Z lens. But again, I so frequently end up stopping down anyway, right? So,
I have the 1.8. I have the 85 1.8, and it does great for portraits.
so I'm still using the F mount with an FCC adapter,
Okay.
and it's sharp.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how much more sharper the S lens is going to be for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Wide open, it'll be sharp. The 85 1.8 wide open is sharp.
Yeah.
Actually, what ZS class lens isn't sharp wide
Yeah.
open?
That's the big difference. The Z mount lenses are all sharp, corner to corner, wide open, and the F mounts typically you're gonna stop it down one or two stops. Which, if you're gonna do that anyway, it doesn't matter. But you can shoot wide open on the Z lenses, and they're just so tack sharp, corner to corner. It's crazy. It's
so
crazy.
Mosman just commented that looks like he used the 200 f2 on the Z9.
Yeah, he just bought a manual focus 200 f2, which is like an old lens from the 80s. And I don't know. Hey, Mosman, did you use it? Did you take a few shots with the 200 f2?
He says something. It was a welcome change putting on the 7200 after to compare.
2870. The only thing I would worry about that is the chromatic aberration on the older lenses, the CA. But you know, nothing post can't fix. You can fix that. Ah, you took some pictures. Okay. Yeah, they're all superior. I mean, Robert, it depends on the look you're after too. Like I have a 58 millimeter 1.4 G lens, and that lens is not sharp, wide open, but that lens has a character. It has a good, and again, it's not all about sharpness, but
So for those who, I guess, not patient when it comes to waiting for super fast lenses from Nikon, mirrorless lenses for mirrorless bodies. So recently, I've seen a couple videos and heard a good feedback on E E2Z adapter. Some companies started to make where you can use a Sony lenses, which obviously has a great lineup, wonderful lenses, that you can adapt them to Nikon Z bodies.
yeah, the Megadap. Yeah, I don't have any
Yeah.
Z
Yeah.
lenses, so I don't really
Matt
care.
Irwin just did a video using that adapter to put Sony lenses on his Z9, and he did all different kinds of lenses with different f-stop settings. It was a pretty comprehensive test that he did. It's
Is
worth
it,
watching. It was very good.
is that
Matt
is
Matt
that the video where
photographer
he's dancing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Matt photographer did a real good job on showing that adapter as well in his studio test studio.
Yeah, and Ike did one, and Omar has one.
Yeah,
Yeah, they offered to send me one, but I actually turned them down because I just said, I don't have any Sony lenses, and I'm not gonna go buy any. So just don't send me one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't own any Sony lenses either. I mean, I have a friends who shoot Sony and super happy. I don't think they'll switch to any other brand at this point. But I don't have any Sony lenses.
Yeah.
Why does this always get worse at night, man?
Yeah, that's the way it is with.
Colds are always like that, or allergies. Everything has to kick in after 8 o'clock.
So COVID is just like the flu. At least that's the only way. That's what it's been like for me.
Yeah. Hey, Mossman's 200 f2 is awesome when you manual focus the lens. It's like so smooth. It's a perfect lens for like movie making, man.
I agree with you, Greg. It is a shame, but that's where we're at right now. They're trying their best to catch up. But I agree with a lot of people saying enough with the super telephotos. Let's get on to some of the more niche glass.
But you know what Nikon did? They properly followed their marketing
No.
strategy when it comes to releasing, lenses that can be mass produced and that are used by the majority of people. And then they kind of follow up with those more specialty lenses. I mean, looking at Sony, right? So Nikon is right now how many years into mirrorless? 4 years now?
No, I will all agree with you. Yeah, that I mean, it's going to take time, but you can't take away that it is a shame that we're talking about adapting, other glass to the camera. I agree. They'll catch up.
But they have a good selection of lenses. I mean, what lens do they not have that you need right now? I mean, other than the 85-1.2,
Well, there are a lot of people that'll talk about wide pancakes, other pancakes, not just the 40 and the 2.8, but I don't know. Everybody's got their desire of what kind of lens they want to see. Everybody's looking at the Z lineup to be as robust as the F mount lineup, and it's just going to take a while. But somebody, math photographer, talked about it. Who is that Megadap adapter for? Somebody that maybe decided to dabble with Nikon and they've been in Sony and they've got a bunch of Sony lenses. Yeah, that's an absolute good reason to use that adapter. Is it for Nikon shooters to go out and buy Sony glass instead of Nikon, or buy gaps in Nikon's lens lineup? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they tend to say that the 1.8 Z glass is as good as the 1.4 glass was on the F mount, but I don't have any 1.8 Z glass to compare it to my F mount glass, but I would like to do a test like that and see if it really is.
Yeah. So that was a conversation we had. You remember Wednesday talking with Mr. Frames, and is Nikon going to come out with 1.4 glass? And that's a good question. I think we just assumed that it was going to be 1.8 and 1.2, but really we only have one 1.2 lens right now, and that's the 50 millimeter. Is Nikon going to have a 1.8, 1.4, and 1.2 at 50 millimeter? I don't know. But are other lenses, primes that are going to come out down the road, going to be 1.8 and 1.4? They're going to build 1.4 glass. I don't know. That's a good question.
And they shouldn't waste. They have a big mount. They made the big mount for a reason, not to mess with 1.4. They have a 1.8. Now they need to work on the 1.2s.
Well, I think, one of the considerations, at least he was bringing it up, is would a 1.4 be cheaper than the 1.2? So I don't know.
Well, it'd be cheaper, lighter, and smaller, but I think if they do come out with an 85-1.2, which we all think it is going to be a 1.2, then I think they should just do 1.2 and forget about 1.4s.
Yeah.
They can't afford to do all three.
No.
They can't do that.
I would agree. Skip the 1.4s. And maybe the cost difference isn't that much, but look, like everything else, cost is always going to be part of why we want something. You know,
Well,
if you can save $400 or $500 on a 85 1.4 instead of a 85 1.2, a lot of people are going to go that route for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason, because it's cheaper. And then they're going to say, well, there isn't that much of a difference, so cheaper's better. I don't know.
Well, you want cheaper, get the 1.8. You know, you don't.
the
That's,
1.8,
that's
the
Jeff
1.8,
reasoning.
the
Yeah,
1.8
with
are
it.
already $1,000. I mean, you're at about $1,000 with the 1.8s, a little bit less, but now you bring out a 1.2, it's going to be double that, $2,000.
Be double plus. At 85 or 1.2, I'll bet you is going to be around $2,400.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to try to compete, but maybe come under a little bit of what Canon makes.
So
Yeah.
here's Ike's position, and Ike's talked about this quite a bit. 1.8s are already expensive, so trying to fit in a 1.4 between that and a 1.2 is crazy. Yeah, I don't know, Ike. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Will we see any 1.4 glass from Nikon in the primes?
My thoughts? No. 1.2, 1.4, no. 1.8's already great. And the 1.2, from 1.2 to 1.4 is a big difference. From 1.2 to 1.4 is a big difference. From 1.2 to 1.8 is a huge difference.
I wonder if once Sigma and Tamron start producing those lenses, maybe they will fill that gap.
That's
Well,
a
that
good
was the comment
possibility.
we had was let Sigma make the 1.4 lenses and let Nikon do the 1.8s and the 1.2s.
Yeah,
I made a video a while ago,
that's what
51.2 versus 51.8, and I shot them both side by side, and it is a huge difference when it comes to bokeh. The 51.2 is still sharp at 1.2, and if you want that look of the 1.2, then that 51.2, it's expensive, but it's big too. The body is big. It's a huge lens. I mean, it's just as the big as the 24 to 72.8.
are
So,
just
but
like the 105 1.4, right?
it's bigger than that.
Bigger
It's
than
bi-
the 105 1.4
it's
F
bigger
mount.
and heavier. Yeah, it's bigger and it's front heavy, and it's thicker in the front. That element
Okay.
in the front. Yeah.
Yeah.
That 105Z is a light lens. It's
This
not
is why
heavy.
camera makers make 8,000 different lenses, because everybody is going to have something for or against every lens that comes out. I don't want it, or it's too heavy, or it's too big, or I don't need it. That's why they make 100 versions of every lens. I'm being very sarcastic here, but
Well,
that's
that's
why
where you
you
get
have
in
all.
trouble, Chuck. You want 7,999 of
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I want them all. I don't care how big or how heavy they are.
them.
You know what I want to see? I want to see a 135 f2. I want to see a
I was about
135
to say that.
135 f2 Z lens, or I want to see a 105 f 1.2.
You can have a 135 f2, can't you, with a mega adapter
Uh, I'm sorry, did I say f2? No, I meant like
or
faster than that.
1.8 or what?
Well, we do have a 105 f 1.4.
No, I'm talking about, what does Sony have on tap? Don't they have one?
No
You
idea.
just buy the adapter and you got it. But I
Well,
mean,
Nikon makes still, right, 135 f2D,
Yeah, that's
right? You
one-
you can you can actually buy it from Nikon. I think it's a $1,400 lens.
Hmm.
my
That'd be
oldest daughter
sweet.
just jumped into the chat.
The
Hi, baby.
135 would be a sweet lens. 135 1.8 or 105 1.2. Can you imagine a 105 1.2?
Yeah, if the
I think
51.2
Sigma,
is heavy, then I can't even imagine people complaining about the weight of a 105 1.2.
I believe Sigma makes the 135 f 1.8.
Yes, I think they do.
And I think they make for Sony. Did they make one for F mount too? I'm not sure.
So you can understand when people get upset because they're impatient and they want Nikon to have a full line of lenses right now for the Z bodies. And it's going to take time. I mean, it took them 100 years to, completely fill out the line that they had in F mount. So, it's not going to happen overnight. And that's why they get compared. So I was saying that camera bodies, when we talk about the influencers bashing Nikon, it's not just the Z9. That was the first dog that they found to kick. But the Z9's proving to be a better camera than they've made it out to be. Otherwise, Joe McNally's a liar. And I know they don't want to call Joe McNally a liar because he says the camera's great. So which one of them is lying? But anyway, so we can't kick that around as much anymore. They're not getting any more traction on it. So now they talk about the camera lineup. Nikon doesn't have anything below the Z9. And we can argue in here all day and defend Nikon until the sun comes up that the Z6 II and Z7 II are good cameras. But they're going to win that battle because they have the ears of all the people that want to hear all the drama. So as soon as that goes away, if they drop this APS-C camera and it turns out to be a big hit, and then the Z8 gets announced, then everybody's going to take that away from the influencers. So what are we left with? The lens lineup, and that's what comes next. Nikon doesn't have any lenses. So that's just what we got to put up with the influencers. And as Ron Pollard says, we'll just keep calling them out. Vahagan's doing a great job of that. We'll just keep calling them out as time goes on. And eventually Nikon is no longer the whipping post. Somebody else is going to fall into that category. And you can bet Jared Polin will turn on Sony or Canon in a heartbeat when he runs out of Nikon content, because he doesn't care. It's all about views, and he's making a living on YouTube. So can you blame him? He's doing what he has to do to make a living, right?
Yeah. Hey, Chuck, I have a question. That Joe McNally thing you said, what was that about now?
No, I'm just saying, I want to do a show, and I'm going to title it Jared Polin and Tony and Chelsea Northrup are liars.
Oh, okay.
Good clickbait, right? But I think I have enough content to talk about it so people will understand what I'm saying. So either they're lying, or Joe McNally and Bambi Cantrell, Jerry Guionis, and everybody else you can think of, an ambassador shooting the Z9. They're either lying, or Tony and Chelsea and Jared Polin are lying. One or the other. You got to decide, because they're saying that the Nikon Z9 is a fantastic camera, and Jared Polin is finding one thing after another to pick on it about. So who's right and who's wrong? Are we going to not trust Joe McNally? I want to see how far he goes with that. Tell Joe McNally he's wrong.
Yeah.
Who you going to believe, Jared Polin or Joe McNally? Jerry Guionis.
Well, for Joe and Jerry, it's no question.
And I think if people hear that and think about it for a minute, those that want to continue to bash the Z9 and whatever, I'm talking the viewers, and they have to stop and think, well, wait a minute. That's right. I love Joe McNally. Well, then who's right? Who you trust, Joe McNally or Jared?
Yeah. And
Chuck, I think
Vitali had the Z9 longest. And what do you think of this camera? I mean, you've used it a long time now, right? Any complaints?
so. I've had it since January, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe mid January. As far as the complaints, my history is I came from D5000 to D5500 to D7000 to D500. So that's it, all of the crop sensor cameras. Okay, D500 was probably by far the most favorite one. Then I went to Z6 II, and then to Z9. It's a huge jump. I've never used or held camera of that caliber. So I love pretty much everything about it. Could this camera be a little bit lighter? Would I appreciate that? Maybe I would, but I'm not complaining at all. I mean, again, I'm still working to making a video. I took my camera on vacation, Z9, on a cruise, and we
wow.
went with the family, a couple of islands, and I carried it with me everywhere, across my shoulder. I had no problems doing that. It is a little heavy for my kids. Like, I have my 5-year-old hold the camera like this, and he was just like tipping over because he couldn't hold it. It's too heavy for him. I had a 24-7 attached to it. But my wife can hold it fine. And all the specifications and user interface, image quality, I mean, there's nothing to complain about. Probably my favorite thing about this camera is the vertical grip.
Mhm.
Vertical grip is actually more comfortable than horizontal grip. And I realize why so many people love it, especially those who are sports photographers. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just so I've never used the R3. I've used the R5. R5 is great camera too, but I never use it with a vertical grip or basically a battery attached to it. Has a great ergonomics too. But I would say if Z8 would be the same form function as the D500 or maybe even D850, I probably get that one and I'll sell my Z6 too.
Yeah, I want that next full frame body because I like having two bodies, and then I don't need any of my F mount or DSLRs anymore. Give me those two bodies and the Z9 and then the Z8 if that's what it's going to be called. Yeah, I want to answer this real quick. Robert talking about Nikon has been sending Jared Polin out new lenses for preview first recently. He seems to brag that he is the first to get the new Nikon lenses. You know why he does that, Robert? Again, it goes back to because that is more clicks on his videos. I get it first. Come to me. Check me out. Check all this out. And it just boggles my mind as to why Nikon sends him anything, but hey.
I was looking at Sony's website. Most of their lenses are 1.4s, 1.8s and 1.4s. And the 85 1.4 weighs 1.8 pounds. It looks pretty big, and it's $1,800.
Yeah.
A good sized lens for at a 1.4. So I can only imagine how big it might be if it's a 1.2. But
I think we have nothing to be complaining about. I mean, we have a lot of lenses. We have a great camera. Yes, the Z8 is coming. Yes, we're gonna get a crop sensor camera. But hey, I want to ask Jeffrey a question. Whatever happened to your problem you had with your Z9? Did you get that resolved?
well, I mean, when I put in the new firmware update, that seemed to take care of some things. I mean,
I stopped doing that. Huh?
I still have the occasional once in a while I just get it where it gets confused and I have to assist it by manually focusing. If I have like a small bird sitting on a branch and then there's a branch arching over it, but it should be enough of an open area to nail it and it won't, and I have to like manually focus it and a little bit, and then I can hit single point autofocus and it'll lock on it. But that's really the only thing I'm having now, and that's
No,
once in a while.
the issue you had with the the screen. It said you need to.
No, that
restart
only
it.
happened once,
Oh, okay, great.
and it never came back with
Maybe
where
it
the
was a
screen
bug
freaked
fix
out
that
on
got
me.
picked up in the firmware update.
So I mean that was good because that scared me. That kind of upset me too. I mean, it isn't like the camera was cheap, cheaper than the other guys, but it still isn't cheap.
So Jeffrey, is it the issue where I've seen maybe one or two videos where people commented that the screen froze and they couldn't do anything except for taking the battery out. Is that the issue you're talking about?
Yeah, I had something like that. Well, I had it where I was tracking a bird in flight and it was doing well, and all of a sudden it's like it lost its mind. The image in the viewfinder started just getting crazy looking, and the camera just locked up, and I had to the only way to recover it was to take the battery out and put it back in again. But luckily that only happened to me once.
So
and I've shot by now. I mean, I think I'm trying to think of when I got my Z9, probably I'm thinking April timeframe maybe. But I mean, I've shot, I'm sure, well over 10,000 pictures with it easy since I've gotten it. I mean, I probably shoot about 1,500 to 2,000 pictures a week. So I'm well over, I'm probably 20, 30,000 pictures easy.
So since I had never shot the A1 or the A9 or the R5 or the R3, when I got the Z9 with all this autofocus magic, with all the different settings, I assumed that all of them were going to work all the time. I mean, am I crazy for that? Yeah, after the fact, it's easy to say, yes, I was crazy for thinking that. But why have all those autofocus settings and everything else if you're going to be limited? But what I learned is all the other cameras do the same thing. The A1, the R3, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. I mean, why didn't somebody tell me with an A1? Well, yeah, I still have to go to single point autofocus all the time because it gets confused in a crowd. So I never heard that.
So Chuck, I've shot some sports with an R5.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a great camera. It really is.
Yeah.
I shot it with 70-200, and I had a number of shots that were just autofocus.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying.
But I'm not complaining about the camera. I mean, it's sometimes we want for the camera to be a magic,
Well, we do, and people make it out to be magic is my gripe. I'm not going to sit back and defend Nikon, Sony, Canon, anybody to the hilt without pointing out, hey, maybe this is an issue or whatever. And I agree with you, Vitali. But nobody told me that. Hey, because I could shoot this Z9 all day long like my D5, but then why did I get rid of the D5? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't have any issue saying
I can go single
what
point.
I have happened to me. I'm going to share it. I'm going to say I had this happen to me.
Yeah,
not because I don't like I obviously like the brand. I've had it for over 2 decades.
Yeah,
it's not a question of that. But if I'm having an issue, I'll say I have an issue. But like Chuck said, I mean, I saw other YouTubers, using the R5 or whatever, and it couldn't focus on a person, 10 feet away. When they turned around, it tracked their body and it didn't go back to the eye quick enough. And so every brand has an issue, but the problem is when somebody is promoting a certain brand, they're not going to tell you that it ever had a problem.
Exactly.
They're gonna make it out like every one of these brand reps are gonna make it out like the brand is perfect, and none of them are perfect.
Which is my point that, if you complain about something like with the Z9, when I told everybody, I'm not giving you my opinion yet because I'm still playing with it. And I was having the same problem you're talking about with a bird in the brush. But there's enough of the bird there that I could shoot that all day long with my D5 and never miss. But I was trying to do it with all the different autofocus modes and whatever. And it was impossible.
It's like it has brain freeze all of a sudden.
Yes.
Focus freeze and it doesn't know what to do.
And then I couldn't even get it to focus on a red-winged blackbird sitting on a treetop all alone, and it would focus on everything but the bird.
Yeah,
But
and
anyway,
they need to fix that. I mean, that's
okay,
happening often enough where
okay,
they got to fix that.
okay. Look, I'm just bringing it up because then I
Yeah,
find out. Well, guess what? All the other brands are having issues like that too. Well, had I known that, then I'd have said, okay, then I just have to go to single point autofocus and deal with it.
yeah.
Shooting at the wedding the other night, Vahagens hooked me up here and helped me out. Ronald Pollard hooked me up and helped me out. Shooting a wedding, forget about using autofocus in a dance floor. Forget it.
Not when it's kind of dark. No.
You can forget that because all it sees is eyes, and it
You
will
mean
track the eyes.
you mean eye autofocus?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not talking AF as in, single point AF, but eye autofocus, yes, or area or anything like that, because it will find eyes, but it may not be the eyes that you want. Okay. I didn't know. Hey, maybe you need to go back to single point AF for something, a specific shot of somebody in the crowd. Why? Because I bought the magic. I bought the camera with all the magic in it. I didn't realize it wasn't perfect. I expected it to be, and it wasn't. And then I find out, well, guess what? None of them are. Yet Nikon's getting kicked down the road because it's the one that gets called out about it. But, my point is that if there's an issue, then I'm going to bring it up. I don't care what brand it is. I'm just glad to know that it's across the board. So everybody has to put up with it. But most brand fanboys, they're not telling you all this. You have to get somebody that'll really break down that's shooting Sony or Canon to say, yeah, I have the same issue on my
Yeah.
camera.
Well, I have firsthand knowledge on the Sonys because all my guys that I do video with, like
Yeah.
on the side, all they use is Sony for video, and they have issues like you wouldn't believe, like so.
Well,
Vahagan,
even
Vahagan,
Fronos, even our buddy Fronos there was funny. He's so hypocritical, and we all know, how he bashes a certain brand. We all know who that is, but it's funny because when he was doing a comparison between, I think, a Canon and a Sony, the A1 and the it might have been the A1, the R5, and the Z9. He says, "Wow, the Z9 grabs the eye when the subject is much farther away than the other two brands." So, he'll say something good like that, and then
But don't buy this one.
3 months down the road, all of a sudden, oh, the autofocus isn't that great. It's like you just said it was great. It locked onto the person when they were the farthest away of any of the brands, and it got the eyes right away. And he doesn't make any sense because he says one thing one time, and then he like changes his mind as like with the wind. He just changes his mind.
Yeah, I did, Moz, man. I bought all the accessories with it. The magic beans, the magic carpet.
Hey, Vitali, what were you saying?
yeah, Vahagan, I was just going to ask you a question about you. You commented briefly about the people who you work at weddings, and maybe those who do video, they shoot Sony, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about what's the demographic, what's the age bracket of those people who shoot Sony that you work with? Do you see the most?
All 20 from 21 to like all the way up to 60, 65, 70. They all
Oh,
use Sony.
okay.
Once in a while you'll see Canon shooters, but it's majority of the time it's Sony. And if you see a Nikon video shooter, it's like a rarity,
Yeah, because I was just thinking about, we had discussion just not long ago about Joe McNally and, other seasoned photographers, and obviously those come from the in an era where, for the most part, it was just Canon and Nikon in existence. And I'm just wondering how much does it have to do with, changing time and, demographics and what people can actually afford, because I don't see 20-year-olds be able to afford, $6,000 camera,
Yes, they can.
but,
Yes, they can.
they're using the lower brand Sonys like the A7 IV and
A7 III, is it? A7
no,
III?
like the A7 IV is like 20 some $100.
And
A7S, A7S2, A7S3. But I think it's more like okay, he's using it, I have to use it. You know what I mean? Oh, he's using it, okay, it must be good. But
Yeah, I mean, YouTube for a lot of these people, who do videography this is their, instructor, for many of them. And what they see is people use Sony, right? So it's kind of like basically people stuck to it, and Sony is here probably to stick around for a long time, so
no, I'm talking about video though. I'm not talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
photography. If you're talking about photography, that's a whole different
No,
thing.
no,
You
no, I'm
see
talking about video
Canon, okay.
specifically.
You see Canon shooters and Nikon shooters when you're dealing with photography.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but going back to the young, and this has been an argument that everybody likes to pose, is that kids aren't buying them. Well, what is a kid? If you're talking mid-20s down, yes, they are buying even flagships. I don't know where they get the money, but everybody seems to think they don't have the money to buy them, but they do. Somebody just sent me an email recommending a young 18-year-old shooter with a Nikon Z9 to get him on the show. 18 years old. Okay. There's a couple of guys that are, I can't remember where they're at, but they're in their early 20s, and they're shooting Z9s. So, maybe not the people we hang around with, but there are a lot of young kids out there that have money to spend. So,
Well, it's either they have it or their parents do, because I know someone, and I'm not going to say who, that sells $20 t-shirts that cost $20 wholesale, and he'll sell them to kids who have wealthy parents, and he'll sell these t-shirts for $600, and they buy them. They buy them like they're buying a candy bar.
So this idea that kids
$600
don't have any
t-shirts.
money, forget that
They got
idea. Now, I'm not saying that they're the predominant purchasers
No.
of all these cameras, but they can afford these cameras somehow. I don't know. You're right, Jeff. Maybe it's mom and dad's money or whatever, which
Yeah.
it is a lot of time. But so now take that down to a $2,800, $3,500 camera. They can definitely buy those, and they are. So that's why they're buying into, not just buying into Sony for that reason, but they're buying into Sony because that's what they've grown up with, the brand Sony. And also they're being told by their peers, and there's peer pressure. Hard to believe that, isn't it? But there might be peer pressure even among the 20 somethings out there as to what camera brand they're going to shoot, but there is.
well, I've joked with you many times on this. It's like they start out with Sony, then they move on to Canon, and then they graduate with Nikon.
Yeah. It's a joke, all right.
No, it's real.
Okay.
Look at all these master photographers. You ask them, hey, they used Canon before, now they're Nikon. Jerry
Well, I can
Guillonet.
see Nikon to Canon, yeah, but not Sony to Nikon, or
No, no,
Canon to Nikon, but not Sony to Nikon, not yet.
No, Sony to Canon to Nikon.
Oh, well, they haven't been around long enough.
Interesting fact. So we recently went on vacation as a family on the cruise, and I'm not gonna, mention the cruise name. It's a big cruise liner, but so I don't advertise anybody here on Jack's channel for any wrong reasons. But anyway, there were probably about 1,500 people, guests on board, and they have about 1,000 staff members. But if those who've been on the cruises, they have everything out there, right, and including photographers. And so, guess what brand camera they shoot?
Nikon.
Nikon.
You're gonna say, oh,
Nikon. And so on that ship, they had about 17 photographers, and every night they set out this magnificent backdrops. Okay, I mean, with sunsets and all kinds of, it's beautiful, and so this was a ship that we were on, and we were next to another ship by the same cruise liner that has 5,000 guests on board, and they have 60 photographers. Guess what brand they use? Nikon. So, and most of those people are, between their 20s and 30s.
And also, it depends on who you hang out with, depends on who you grew up with photography. I mean, if somebody was hanging around me when they were a kid, they'd know nothing else but Nikon, because That's all I use. But yeah, it all depends on what you've been introduced to as a young kid, and and then I grew up like I grew up watching 80s movies and 90s movies, and like the 80s and 90s movies, you'd see a Nikon on in the movie, the guy's using a Nikon. Oh, he's a journalist in school, he's using a Nikon. So Nikon was cool back then, in the 80s. And
See, what I frequently attributed my problems to autofocus from the time when I purchased my first camera was that, my first camera was D5000. Okay, and it's not, it's a DX camera. It's a amateur camera, if you will, not a professional. But maybe some of it had to do with autofocus as well. But I think a lot had to do with how I was using the camera, because I was still learning at the time, and so frequently I had very low shutter speed, and I'm trying to shoot action, kids running around, bird is flying, and I'm trying to shoot action, and so frequently my pictures were blurry. But then I learned that, okay, my settings on camera are wrong. And even now, if you want to use Z6, Z6 II to shoot sports and action, and I think if you know how to use a camera, you're still gonna have a lot of great shots that you can walk away with. And I think a lot of it comes down to skills.
Well, too many people really don't take the time to learn the camera, where things are automatic for them. Knowing based on the situation and what you're shooting at the time. Oh, I should be in this mode, or I should be in that mode, or oh, I need to be at least 1/3200th of a second if I'm going to do this bird, or oh, well, that one's a kingfisher. Well, I better, or a small bird. Oh, I got to be at 1/4000th or faster. And they just think, oh, I got it at 1/1000th of a second. That's good enough. That should be good enough for everything. And it's not. It's not even close.
Well,
But people don't
skills.
want to learn the cameras. It seems like they actually think they just buy it, put it in their hand, and
Hey,
does everything perfect.
skills doesn't enter in marketing, though. Skills isn't part of marketing.
That's true.
Marketing is sales. Sales is not, based on everybody's skill.
Remember when
Manufacturer
Nikon used
doesn't
to
care
go
what your
around and do
skill.
the school?
Manufacturer doesn't care what your skill level is, as long as you buy a camera. Therefore, best marketer wins.
Remember when Nikon used to go around and do the training that you could pay for?
Yeah.
Years ago. I mean, I remember going to a Nikon class 40 years ago. And at the time, I didn't shoot Nikon, but I went to the Nikon class anyway, and it was great.
Jeffrey, I was this morning at my son's game early in the morning at soccer, and there was one mom on the sidelines, and she was taking pictures. And during halftime, I just kind of approached her, and we had a little chat. And because I saw her taking pictures, and we started talking about cameras, and I just asked her, what is she using to shoot? And and she was using Canon, some sort of DSLR. And she's like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just having fun. And I said, how does she shoot? She's like, I'm just shooting an auto.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just shooting an auto. And she's like, I want to learn more, but it's hard. And, but she's out there. She's cheering for her kid. She's taking pictures. She's being excited,
Hey, Roy, on this graphic or piece of information here, yeah, that it should be that way, because we built DSLRs for how long? And how long have we been in the mirrorless game? Of course, when it comes to DSLRs, that may be the makeup. But that's not future proofing, It's what they sell today, not what's been sold. Maybe that's an issue too. Maybe Nikon should have built, more frail cameras so they would break, kind of like car manufacturers. They're not building a car that lasts forever. They'll never sell another one if that's the case. But, this doesn't mean anything to me with the market today and where we're heading. I think it's fantastic, but those days are gone. We got to let go of that too. That whole mentality of, what we started with. We are not buying all the cameras now. And how many people haven't even shifted to mirrorless in the Nikon camp? I hear them all the time. A lot of people that haven't jumped to mirrorless yet. So I think it's interesting, but that's still not helping Nikon. Reputation doesn't matter with the 20 something. He doesn't know who the first president of the United States was, let alone how, Nikon forged the market in lenses and also in camera bodies later on. So I'm an advocate for Nikon to succeed, not succeed, but to excel, exceed expectations. So I'm always going to be the one that's going to be the devil's advocate in here in these conversations. I want to see Nikon go on and grab a larger piece of market share. And I had somebody the other day ask me where I get my information about Nikon losing market share. Is there anybody in here that thinks Nikon hasn't lost market share in the last 4 years? Anybody at all thinks Nikon hasn't lost any market share?
Oh no, they're getting some back, but they lost a lot of market share because they didn't change the mirrorless quick enough.
Right. But yet, some people want me to give them facts as if I have an in at camera manufacturers and they're actually going to give me that data, which they don't share with anybody. So the closest we come to it is financials.
Yeah.
Looking at financials and how many bodies have moved. And we don't even know what trickery goes on there. Does it mean if it left the warehouse or left the factory line or it left the store in somebody's hands or whatever? So anyway, I love Nikon. I know people will argue and say, no, he doesn't. Listen to him. He's always picking on Nikon. No, I have all Nikon gear right here on a Nikon camera and lens right now in this live stream. But I want to see Nikon. I think that they've got a lot of things, and Nikon's stodgy ways of doing business, they may be changing a little bit now. Looking at the market view that they posted, maybe that's beginning to change, but that wasn't helping matters either.
Hey, Chuck, Nikon will soon remove the download links from View NX2, View NXI, Capture NX, and Capture NXD from their website.
Saw it today.
Yeah, June 30th.
I don't know why, but they're going to do that, but saw it today.
Yeah. Wow, these guys. Have you guys ever heard of Simon? Steve Simon?
No.
Here's another guy charging $2,000 for a workshop. $2,000. You get a dinner. And
you can make money doing classes and stuff and doing hands-on. And if you and you're a people person, so you'd be good at that. You get along with people and very good at that.
Teaching photography or teaching specifically how to use Nikon cameras?
Photography and wedding photography or whatever,
Well, here's the title: June 24th, 25th, 26th. Nikon Z9 New York City Mentorship Masterclass Workshop with Steve Simon. $2,000, $100 deposit. I guess you get a dinner with that. I'm just reading it right off the Nikon Rumors website, and it's a post right under that post you saw, Chuck.
Yeah.
I'm old school. I'll read the manual 4 times and I'll go out and shoot tens of thousands of pictures and I'll learn the camera and I'll save the $2,000 and buy a lens.
Well, it'll be fun. It should be fun, but it shouldn't cost $2,000. I mean,
well, you get what the market can bear.
Do I think Nikon is going to fail? No, I do not. Do I think Nikon could catch up significantly faster if they would just do a few things different? Yes, I do. So am I being impatient? Yes, I am. But I also want Nikon to really build their future. And it's with you, Vitali. It's not with me. I'm not their future. But you're 40, you'll be 40 years into photography and still with Nikon. And we need that blood in the brand, which is why
Chuck,
I want to see a lot of young folks shooting Nikon. And I'm seeing some now, but I mean, I still see predominantly Sony or Canon with the younger generation.
number
Oh,
of streams, Chuck, that you've had and talk about Nikon, and you've been
Mhm.
trying to defend them. Nikon at least should brand you as their ambassador.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm on the dartboard there at Nikon USA headquarters.
But they do get some criticism on this channel as well, and I don't know how well they handle that. But
yeah.
but the bottom line is everybody that's on this channel uses their product.
But I think the difference is the criticism here isn't to make them fail; it's to help them grow.
Yeah.
Now, we could all be wrong in everything we say. I could be completely wrong in everything I say, but there are too many things that show up to lend me to believe that we are talking about what Nikon could or should be doing.
You see, I don't sit at the executive meetings, and I don't know necessarily what's going on behind the closed doors, right? It really comes down to every day, is it gonna bring them more profit or less profit? And if
Yeah.
it means for them to make many more crop sensor cameras versus full frame, that's what they're gonna do. And
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how much we're gonna complain and think, and very often our opinion is not gonna be a driving factor for them to make the decision on their profit.
which is why we can't wait to talk about it after it happens. Which is why you have to be out front and start talking about what Nikon needs to do and should do. You're right. It's not like they're going to develop a camera. Hey, that's a good idea. I saw on some live stream last night. Let's make this camera. Let's get it out in the next month. You're right. But
Yeah. They're not
hopefully,
the Uncle Chuck special.
yeah, hopefully, hopefully though, they are listening to not just this, but so many other people that are being vocal, because it appears they are, or we're just prophets, all of us, but it appears they are. Again, going back to the market view, all the things that we've been complaining about, that I've been complaining, I'm not going to lump anybody into my rants, but that I've been complaining about, a lot of those things were addressed in that market view, talking about video, talking about the younger generation, reaching down and bringing in new explorers for Nikon and all that kind of stuff. We were talking about this. I was talking about it 6 months ago, in and around bashing Nikon USA for giving the Z9 away for a month to NPS members.
Yeah, I think with any of those little privileges that you get, whether you're an ambassador or you are NPS member or something else, it comes down to some level of pressure that you have to perform, that you have to be a certain way. Or those people who, advertise cameras, once the camera comes out, you have to sign the NTS agreements and all that stuff. You see, I got into photography because I just want to take pictures and I just want to enjoy memories, and I want to make photos, take photos and make videos and whatnot. And I feel like if I were to get into the category where I start getting paid and feel pressure on those things, you kind of start losing that interest and fire of doing what you really came for. Like I was just listening the other day, a podcast of Peter McKinnon and Mary Hapoya, and how they basically, they started their YouTube channels, but at some point you start realizing that you almost like being cornered by certain videos, because if you start making videos that you like, it's gonna impact their channel, it's going to impact their livelihood, right? So, and that's why they need to create another channel, another podcast or something, sort of an offshoot, spin-off from what they have, in order to have that freedom. So so kind of getting back here to, working for a brand or advertising for them in some ways, I feel personally for me, it would put so much pressure and would take that freedom away. But again, other people may feel differently, because I know that some people, this is, like I know Vahagan does photography full time, and Vahagan been reviewing some products, which is awesome. But I don't know how he feels necessarily when it comes to he has to make certain videos. So
Well, I mean, I like doing it in my own space and my own freedom. So I don't know. I just like the freedom of not having to do something at a certain time, and the pressure. But I don't know. I'm just you're just having fun doing it. Like you do videos on your YouTube channel, so you know what the work it takes to do it. It's a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of work, a lot of editing, right? So it's not easy.
Tough love. Yes. Tough love. So Albert was saying in the comment before that, oh, by the way, Jeffrey will be right back, folks. Talking about the screw mount adapter, and there'd be so many people leaving their DSLRs, transferring to the Z system because mirrorless lenses are too expensive for most. How much compared to what, Albert? I'm just curious. Z lenses or mirrorless lenses are too expensive compared to what? I'm just curious. Are you just saying that they've already invested in these older screw mount lenses and therefore they don't need to buy, or they shouldn't have to buy any Z lenses or something like that? I don't know. Just curious. Yeah, I agree with you, Roy. I don't think it's going to happen. They will. I don't. And man, again, you know, I'll be selfish here. I don't mind saying that from time to time. I'll be selfish here and say, I I don't think they need to, should have, or anything else. There's just a point in time when you got to cut and run, and it's so hard. The long goodbyes. But there's a point where Nikon has to do what they're going to do, just like discontinuing f mount glass, so many different lenses, and discontinuing different DSLRs. You just got to pull the plug at some point. I know nobody likes to hear that because they don't want to have to reinvest or whatever. But I mean, I don't. How do you make this smooth and effortless? Am I just rambling? It's the COVID, man. I swear it is.
Chuck,
Yes, sir.
can you share a little bit about this stand that you have behind you? Looks like a double stand or something.
It's a camera stand. Yeah, I need to do a video on that. I've had a few people ask about it. Um,
Is it
if I
like so
had
you
the
can set up two cameras at the same time type thing, or like a lighting
well,
and a camera, or
you can do a whole lot of things with it. Um, it's strictly for studio, but it's on rollers, and you can lock the rollers down so you can mount. I don't know if we're going to be able to see. I'm not going to have enough light, but I can remedy that, I think. So the horizontal bar moves horizontally back and forth. So you can adjust the camera there. You can adjust it up and down. So you can lock the camera down at any setting you want. If you're shooting in a studio, even if you're just shooting a model, lock it down and just go to town, man, having a ball. I know you can't hardly see it. I'd really have to take the camera down to show you, but the brand is Studio Titan America. And if you want to see one in action, it's a different brand he uses, but Peter Colson uses one all the time. if you're doing anything static in a studio, it's the bee's knees.
Yeah, it looks very solid from here.
It is. It'll handle just about anything you want to load on it, as far as camera, lens, or whatever. And yes, it has two positions, one on either side, so you can mount anything on either side. Actually, you decide what you want to put on the horizontal bar.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun in the studio if you're doing, especially studio work. I would expect. Uh, Here you go, Roy. Roy's a product shooter, and I would expect that it would really be nice for stuff like that. Again, you can lock it down, adjust it, roll it around, move it anywhere you want, and just go to town. Very precise movements in it too, so it's
Kind
a
of
lot of fun to shoot with.
from a distance, it kind of reminds me of one of those lifts that you put in the garage to change
Yeah,
your tires, you know?
yep, exactly. It looks like exercise equipment, is what Greg said. Oh, Robert Wagner back. Sad to see by you, Josh, a bird photographer on YouTube, leave Nikon a few weeks ago. He had a Z9 to 500 PF, I believe, but was dissatisfied. Yeah, there are many reasons that, or not many, but some reasons that he had for deciding to leave Nikon. And you'll get to ask all those next Tuesday when he's on Vahagan's live stream.
Also, he ended up leaving Nikon because I thought did he get Z9?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
He's now a Sony shooter.
Yeah, he left for a bunch of reasons. I mean, he was going to Alaska. He wanted a 600 f4. He couldn't get it from Nikon, and he wanted it. He had wanted it now, and for his needs, and he could get it from Sony. And his wife had a Sony, and he liked how that performed. And he wanted the 10-bit video recording, which only the Z9 can do. So he made a switch, which is fine. That's his prerogative. But
Well, we'll get the real scoop on Tuesday. So
Yeah.
you guys join in, and we'll
I
be
wonder if
asking
he could
all
have
these
used
questions.
one of those mega DAP and adapt Sony lenses if the Sony lenses are more available than Nikon.
Oh, I guess he could have, but I don't think he wanted to invest in a Sony lens and keep a Nikon camera. And just like Jeff said, and some people say, "Oh, that's bull" or whatever. I don't care what anybody says. I would love that he still shot Nikon, but he doesn't. But I still watch his content, and there you have it.
doesn't change what the guy does.
That's right.
He does great work, and I don't care what he shoots with.
Yep, it's fine by me. But yeah, as Jeff said, his wife's shooting Sony. So he decided to keep it all in house, one brand in the house, and he could, and with the R7, or not the A7 IV, he can, what is it? He can shoot 10-bit internal. That's the key, 10-bit internal on the camera. So he doesn't need a external recorder to record 10-bit. And, and some will say, well, does he need to record 10-bit? Well, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I don't need any of the equipment I have. I want it.
Chuck, you know what I appreciate about you is just your honesty.
Yes.
You don't go around and you don't make people believe the camera is great because this, and that. You just say, I want it.
That's right. And people ask me from time to time, what would you recommend? Is it worth, getting this or that? Do you want it? Can you afford it? There's your answer. If it's yes to both, then I don't know what you're waiting for. Oh, man.
I mean, honestly, if I wasn't shooting video, the biggest reason I went mirrorless, and specifically Z6 II, was because of video.
Yeah.
If Z6 II, whatever, the next whatever mirrorless cameras, they didn't have a good video for Nikon, I would have switched, or I would just gotten a dedicated other camera for video. Maybe that would be Sony, maybe that would have been Canon. But because from what I've seen and what I was using it for, and video was great. That's big reason why I actually stuck with Nikon.
Yeah, I started this channel. Well, actually, my channel by name when 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. I made a couple of videos, but back then I was still traveling. Up until COVID, I was doing a lot of traveling for work. But anyway, and I was shooting with my D5 and my D850. And trying to shoot video in a static position like this with those cameras was such a pain. I couldn't use autofocus because it just didn't work. It would hunt, it would carry on, make noise. The lenses made noise and everything else. Was the video in the D5 and the D850 good? Yeah, it was good. But it was limited to you holding the camera and directing the camera and telling it what to do, rather than it set it up on a tripod, aim it at your face or where you'll be sitting, and then hope that it's going to be in focus when you go sit down. And even the slightest movement would cause an issue. So that's right before the Z7 came out. And then the Z7 came out, and I knew that I wanted the Z6 as soon as it came out because I wanted to do more of this on YouTube. And then it turns out I didn't do any more for quite a while. And the Z9 is what just made me decide, well, it's time to get back on YouTube and play with this, because I wanted to rant. I used to rant a lot. My wife said it wasn't good for me, so I tried to stop it. I got rid of a bunch of those videos, by the way, that I did back then, calling Nikon stupid because they missed an opportunity for marketing during COVID.
Chuck, how many videos up to this point do you have since you started your channel?
Well, since going back to October, was it October or September? Whenever the Z9 teasers started, I started back doing live streams. And I don't know now. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can tell you.
Probably with streaming twice a week, you probably have more watch hours than Oprah.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't give me the total here, but
he doesn't recommend books though or anything,
yeah, I just got another announcement from YouTube. What a good boy I am, and how I've got 8,000 hours of watch time so far. So yeah, all I'm waiting for are subscribers to get to the 500 subscriber mark so I can start really having fun on YouTube. Oh man.
I'm not sure how accurate those analytics are, because so I just recently passed 1,000 subscribers, and from time to time I just look into analytics and just see what's happening with it. And from what I've seen, because you need to have what, 4,000 hours, I believe, right? To be monetized.
I don't know, something like that, I think.
And
hours, or is it subscribers? Do you have to have 1,000 subscribers?
Yeah, but there is a minimum number of hours.
Yeah.
It's 4,000. It's 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours.
Right. So, and I was looking at my number of watch hours, and I didn't think I nearly had enough. But then I got an email from YouTube and says, "Congratulations, blah blah blah." So again, I don't quite fully rely on those analytics unless I'm not looking at the right places.
Yeah, you need to set up your direct deposit with Google.
They don't sign checks anymore? That's a
No.
thing of the past?
No. You need to set that up. I think it's AdSense. You go to AdSense. Oh, you know what? Watch a video on YouTube on how to set up your monetization. There's a video out there. It's very easy.
So Vahagan, when I grow up, I want to be like you.
Yeah.
Vahagan will teach anybody for the low price of $9.99.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you make more money, Vahagan. You know, I'm trying to get
I'm not pushing, man. I could push, I can set if you noticed my channel in the description, I don't have any affiliate with links or anything like that. I don't do that. I just haven't really looked into it. You know what I mean?
But if you try to put affiliate link for Z9, you're probably going to get it in 2026.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to put it affiliate link for Z9 because it's like you can't get it anywhere.
No, but I mean, if you watch other channels and you go to their descriptions, you see like this big ass list, like boom, right in your eye, like 1,000 pieces of gear. Every gear has a link. It's like,
click on how much more. Here's all the links to everything.
I wonder how much these guys make in these affiliates. I mean, it must be good if they're, posting it on there.
What's interesting I find is that people will be talking about some camera brand that they've been using for 6 months, but then they have this list of their favorite gear things. My favorite camera, my favorite drone.
Yeah, it's a copy and paste thing.
Copy and paste from like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's kind of start losing credibility at that point.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. You're reviewing a lens. That's fine. All right. Here's the link. If you want to support the channel, you could buy it through this link. That's fine. I understand that. But also, I want to, what I want to do is I want to look into sponsorship because that's where the money is. That's where the real money is. I heard.
Robert commented to you, Vahagan, about the class on histogram and exposure. So I've been kind of playing with this thing, histogram and exposure, and I've been shooting for 15 years. And I don't know about you guys, but I rarely use histogram.
Me too, man. I just see whatever looks good, I put it on
and
there.
If you really want to have a proper exposure, attach an external monitor to your camera and use waveforms. You're just going to be much happier. So my question is, how come they have implemented waveforms into photography in place of the histogram?
I don't know. Maybe tech is now, I don't know. You definitely want to use waveforms for video, though, don't you? The exposure there is completely different. It just appears in video versus in stills.
I can see histograms were helpful in the DSLR time, but with mirrorless, with what you see is what you get, you could have waveforms do the exactly same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess maybe it would depend on how much of the screen that would take up too. I don't know if it would take up more area on in your viewfinder if you were looking at it from within your viewfinder, if it would take up more room than a histogram would or not. I don't know.
Here's something funny. Today I walked outside. I took the Z9 out with the 24-70 on it just to go out and walk around the yard just to take a photo because it's nice to actually shoot for a change. But anyway, I walked outside and I had no idea I didn't check the ISO or anything else. And I'd been playing with the camera last night inside in a dark room. Anyway, I walk outside and I go to snap a photo and I look at the shutter speed and it's 1/32,000th of a second. And it shocked me. I'm thinking, how is that possible? I'm forgetting that the Z9 will go to 1/32,000th of a second shutter speed. And I said, well, okay, I'm going to take the photo. And so I took a photo, broad daylight, 8,000 ISO, f4 at 132 thousandths of a second shutter speed, and it was correct.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Hey Vitaly, to comment back on the monetization thing, I don't fault guys for doing that only because this thing takes a long time, and just to support the channel, you know what I mean? It's I don't fault them for doing that, and I think it makes sense for content creators to kind of, you know, make something for their time that they're putting out there. You know what I mean? So whatever they want to, you know, look for revenue, that's good on them. You know, I commend them on that. So
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely don't disagree with that. I think, I think what I'm looking, you know, I think what's important for me is so their honesty about what they really think is the best of what they use, because people want to, if I like your channel and if I want to know what you're actually using, and then you talk about these other cameras and brands, but then also you talk about some other stuff, because I mean technically you can put in any affiliate links. You don't necessarily have to own the camera. You can put all of the flagship cameras if you want to, all the expensive DSLRs, all, and say this is my favorite, and make people believe that this is what you actually use. But in reality, do you actually use that?
yeah,
You know what I mean? I think this is where I have a little bit of a issue, but I'm not against certainly supporting them if, this is what they use.
I
I
think
mean, I think it would be nice if you only have links to brands where you actually own the product and use it and you like it.
And that's the appropriate way
You
to do
know,
this.
and rather than just throw everybody up there and you've never even tried it.
yeah. I don't know how exactly how it works, but I think if they click on a link and they go and buy something else from the same site, I think you still get the credit. But I could be wrong. You know.
I,
Oh, I'm back. Same spot.
same spot. We saved it for you.
You know who's good with that is Amazon. Amazon affiliate links are great. You know what I mean? Like people make some money on that.
That's because 1 billion people shop on Amazon daily. Those links are great, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that works. Do people get paid a percentage based on the item that, if somebody buys?
I think so. I'm not 100% though.
I mean, if they're affiliated with B&H Photo or something, they might get a small stipend for somebody getting it through their link, but I don't know how much it is. I mean, I'm sure it's not a lot of money, but it's something.
Yeah, they do get something.
Yeah.
Just a quick response to Gustavo here. He mentioned that EVF is very useful, or histogram is useful in the EVF, and I think for me, like maybe if you do landscape photography, I can see that. But if you do a lot of portraiture, and sometimes you have a high key, sometimes you have a low key, it doesn't really quite goes well with a lot of the work that I do.
Yeah.
I use it a lot for outdoor bird photography in nature.
Okay.
I do use it.
Squarespace, there's two types. There's the type that I guess if you have a really big YouTube channel, they pay you a flat fee for just mentioning them and showing like a 30-second clip of their website. But again, if I were to do sponsorship on my site, it's going to be something that I believe in. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like, oh, I'm sponsored by, a brand that I don't like or I don't want to push on people. You know what I mean? So
Sponsored by Folgers Coffee.
it's got to be something that I'm proud of. And then say, you know what? I recommend this to Vitaly or Jeffrey or, I highly recommend this company, so.
Yeah, Yeti could make a fortune with me, man. I believe in my Yeti coffee mug. Oh, man.
Chuck, did you take that picture of what is it, an eagle behind
That's
you?
a red-tailed hawk. Yeah, it was in the backyard.
It's beautiful.
He had a squirrel from the night before. He was up in a big sycamore tree in the side yard, and I have no idea. I, I actually took some video of him up in the tree eating the squirrel. Evidently, there was some left over the next morning, and I just happened to walk outside and happened to have the camera in my hand, and there he was, flying around the tree stump out there, getting ready to land where that rest of that squirrel was.
You're lucky, man. You step out your backyard and it's like,
Yeah, pure luck. Sometimes it's better than AF.
you step out of your house and it's like all these possibilities of capturing these shots.
Yeah.
The AF is perfect, Chuck. The AF is absolutely perfect.
You know, Chuck, I saw some eagles today too. Actually, when I was at the soccer field with my kids.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
you guys have some eagles up there.
Yeah, I don't know. Vahagan, you were in California, right?
Yeah, southern.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how wildlife as far as I mean, famous out there, popular. I mean, here in the Northeast, I mean, we get quite a bit of. We got
Ah,
bears in the backyard.
I know.
Um, so, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
where are you from? What state?
I'm now retired in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So a lot of nature down here.
Yeah, I can see it. There's a nice big bird behind you.
Oh yeah,
Even he's got possibilities there.
Shoot a lot of birds. Way too many birds. although Chuck, just so you know, I will be maybe a week or so. I'll be putting out a video of where I took some an old train depot and some old trains.
Oh, cool.
So I like to mix it up when I can.
Yeah,
Hey,
man.
You guys ever watch lions fighting on YouTube? That's crazy shit. I mean, if you can capture that any kind of like predator, like hunter, that's like a hitting the lottery, right, Jeffrey?
Oh yeah, when you could go when the I'm trying to think of what it's not caribou, but they have a run, and I think it's in Africa where they cross over
the
water
wildebeest.
and they get killed by the gators.
The wildebeest.
Wildebeest, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you're there when you time that right, when they're
The
making
migration.
that run,
Yeah.
that's nuts. If you're there for that, you'd be having wall hangers all over the place.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, thanks for hanging in here, man. Get you some rest, brother.
Thanks, Robert. Always nice seeing you guys.
Take care. Oh, there's so many places I'd like to go. I just don't. I don't really have.
It's funny.
I don't have the money to pay for what these people want for these trips. It's just crazy.
It's funny what people will watch on YouTube. You're absolutely right. There are people that are making it's just a gold mine for them with the dumbest videos. However, everybody's going to stop and watch it. It's a 10-minute video on a truck driving across a rickety bridge. It gets 5.1 million views. Me, I get 200.
Yeah. They're monetized in a month or whatever, and they're making.
But I miss my opportunity because I'll tell you what I'm addicted to whenever they come across. You ever see these third world countries where they're building parts for trucks and repairing them right there on the side of the road? Have you guys ever seen any of those videos? I mean, they make a new axle in the mud and actually repair the truck, something you can't do in America. We got to buy a whole new truck. No, they got a guy that can make a part, with an anvil and a fire and some raw steel. But anyway, I watch those, but I do that because I've been to so many countries. All the time I spent in Afghanistan, I wish I'd had a camera to carry around and just video these guys doing stuff like that, building parts and changing a rear end in a 5-ton truck right on the highway with logs holding the truck up. But people watch that stuff, it gets 10 million views.
Yeah, but with the wildlife, I mean, with these, big lions and tigers fighting, You know,
Yeah.
they capture that moment on video, and you see other channels use those clips because I guess it's just so rare. Like it's so rare to capture that.
Yeah, here you go. There's another one. Robert's talking about it. The guy in the middle of the jungle that builds a home out of mud and puts a swimming pool in it and everything else. It's just, there's just something about it. You just can't look away.
Those are awesome. I watch with my kids all the time.
Yeah. Hey, there's probably something to learn in there, you know, in that. It's pretty cool.
You know,
Uh,
it gives you this kind of like a wow moment, you know what I mean, when you're watching those things. So I guess, you know, whenever people watch, you know, us on, you know, a YouTube channel, I guess we don't give them enough wow.
no,
Well, I mean,
no.
we don't sensationalize anything though either, so we just
Yeah.
not dramatic enough, you know.
And
No, it's
Chuck is my YouTube sensation, so I
Yeah. Well, thanks.
and it's the niche you're in. I mean, you got, you know, people watching, you know, these things are like at a younger age and teenagers, and you got millions and millions of views. I mean,
Yeah. Car buddies. I'll tell you, I wish I could spend hours talking about what I've seen over in Afghanistan, over in on the African continent, and different places, and not making fun of them. I think they're resourceful. We're the ones that they should be making fun of because they can repair anything. But yeah, seeing a car body, a truck cab on the back of a camel, you know, because that's how they. Oh, and a donkey cart with a donkey pulling the cart and another donkey in the back of the cart that's hurt. Donkey ambulance. I mean, it's just it's amazing. Which is why I'll never book a tour anywhere. I'm going to go and explore on my own because I've learned to do that over the years in all these different places. Bayou Josh in the house. Not all those videos make money though, huh?
Hello,
Don't want to
hello.
advertise on them,
How you
huh?
doing?
hey
Wow.
Josh, congratulations on the bear video, man.
He
Great.
survived Alaska.
Good to see you in here, Mr. Josh. I'm looking forward to next Tuesday. I want to hear more about your trip.
Oh, definitely more about the trip. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to know, did you carry a hog leg with you? He's from Louisiana. He knows what I'm talking about. I'd have had at a minimum my 45 with me.
Barely survived. Maybe you
Um,
should have tied in with the that show Survivor, you know, and went all out, you know.
there you go. One in each pocket. You bet, man. Kind of a personal question. Yeah, I guess it is. Most people don't like talking about their hog leg, I guess. Oh, I can imagine, man. The plane rides, those bush planes, man, those guys are amazing, aren't they?
That would be my problem. I'm scared of heights on a regular airplane. I go on something like that. I don't know if I'd make it.
Yeah, man.
I'd have a heart attack before it landed. It doesn't have to crash. I just have a heart attack.
Man, I'm gonna take some more medicine here in a minute. Shoo, wait.
Looking forward to Tuesday, Josh. Looking forward to Tuesday. Post something on your YouTube so all your viewers know that you're gonna be live on your.
He did today.
Oh, you did? Okay, on the community post.
Yep. Yeah, I was surprised too. That kind of scared me, to be honest with you, Josh. I thought, Katie, that's a brown bear with cubs. There's probably nothing more dangerous in the world.
Now, were there other people? I'm wondering, were there other people there other than the three of you that were in the video, or was there any support people or anybody there to kind of watch behind your back?
Yeah, that's nuts, man. I would be like,
Yep, you're absolutely right, Roy. I was going to say when Jeff was talking about being afraid of heights, I was afraid of heights too. Unless I had a parachute on, then it didn't matter anymore. It was fine.
I never understood why people would jump out of a perfectly working aircraft.
Hey,
Of course, you didn't have a choice.
that's a good point. You know, Vahagan brought up there talking about posting on for Josh, posting on his, or at least in the community tab. You know, you guys can restream this on your YouTube channel while it's happening, right? You know, you can restream this, right? On your channel while we're live.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, I remember you saying that. I haven't tried it yet.
It helps you guys too because it's another. It shows up on your channel.
yeah.
Now, maybe you don't want this showing up on your channel. That I understand.
I didn't see it.
It's too late for me. Vahagan, save yourself.
What?
Yeah, you're a regular, Jeff. You can't break away.
My reputation's already tarnished.
That's right.
There you go. I just saw it, Josh. Thank you, man. You posted it. Cool, man. I didn't know. Man, Chuck, you're on top of everything on YouTube, huh?
Brother, I don't know how you can't be. With as much as you're doing now, you've got to be more in tune with what's going on YouTube.
But how do you get all the, like, do you get notifications and stuff? How does that
No,
work?
I actually scan down YouTube. When I open it up, I'll scan down to see what's new, what people have posted.
All right. That's cool.
Mazman, you will never get me skydiving. You could get me drunk. You could give me money. It'll never happen.
Hey, Mazman, I ever get out there, buddy, you and I are going skydiving.
I'll take a picture of you skydiving from ground level or from the boat if you go on one of those parachute things on the back of the boat.
Jeff, you know, I was at Myrtle Beach last year in the springtime, and actually I did a photo shoot there for like a family photo shoot, which I ended up making a video, I believe, on my channel too. But I used the Z6 there with the 50mm f1.8 and shooting by the beach in the morning hours, you know, when the sun is just coming up. It was beautiful.
So now, were you shooting behind one of the hotels that you were staying at, or did you go to one of the? Okay.
No, we were literally on the beach, you know, in one of those hotels. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I vacationed down here for over 30 years before, you know, and knew that this is where we were going to retire. So it's worked out.
Where were you before?
I lived in Connecticut.
Oh.
I lived where Chuck is now. The northern boy went south, and the southern boy went north.
Yeah,
and that's why we get along, because you know we're too crazy.
Connecticut?
Because we both know how bad Connecticut is. That's why.
I grew up born and raised in Middletown. Which is between Hartford and New Haven.
Wow, that's cool.
And I worked at a company right across the street from Bradley Airport.
Well, if I ever take my road trip, I'm gonna be visiting all you guys. It's gonna be like a map. Okay, I gotta hit Utah. I gotta hit Josh. I gotta hit, like, I'm gonna be visiting all you. We're gonna have lunch. We're gonna do video. It's gonna be cool. I'm gonna make a big map.
It's going to take you a while, man.
No, because you're all in my way.
Well, we know we're in your way. We know we're in your way. Yeah.
Like on my way. You know what I mean?
Chuck, you know what I just realized? There are multiple channels entitled AP Studios.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, I have to confess something to you right now. For some reason, I'm not subscribed to your channel.
There you go.
I gotta do this right now.
Yeah.
Your videos always come up on my feed, but I'm
Because you
looking right
watched
now.
them. That's why. But hit the bell icon too.
There we go. Just did.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Robert, for the subscription. And for those that are in here right now, haven't run off already, please drop a like. That's my motivator. That's what keeps me coming back, even with COVID. And it's not. I guess it's not contagious through the computer.
I don't know. I'm getting a sore throat.
Thank you, Vitaly. Any of you guys, Apple Mac guys, Apple's announcing new hardware and software Monday, June 6th at their WWDC conference. Hopefully a new Mac Pro 1 or new Mac Pro. I have a new Mac Studio, but always looking for more. Yeah.
Can't afford anymore.
Yeah, I think quite a few of us are Mac users.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out too. There you go. It's the title of this thing. When is enough enough? I got two MacBook Pros sitting there on the table in front of me.
See, I know you guys talk about, let's get together at WPPI, but obviously I don't do weddings and I don't do portraits. I mean, I signed up for the B&H has their, I don't know if it's put on by them or just partially sponsored by them.
Yeah.
They have a thing called Optic, Outdoor Photo, Video, Travel Imaging Conference in New York City. Now that's something that's more along my genre.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're not really going for. Well, I guess we are going for the photography, but it's kind of like a side thing where we get to see all our friends and hang out.
I'm not going to learn how to shoot weddings and portraits, but to see all you guys and have a good time doing that, plus all the new gear. There's a lot of stuff that comes out at WPPI also. Walking around inside the whatever it is, the convention center there. That's the kind of stuff I'm going for.
Chuck, when was the last time you've been to B&H, to actual store?
It's last time I've been to the stores probably about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago.
Before COVID.
Yeah. Right before COVID.
Yeah. Mozman, that'd be cool, man. That'd be really cool.
I went to probably around the same time because I went to Photo Plus in the fall. I think it was 2019, and I spent probably a couple hours at B&H store. But it's like probably an hour from you, right, or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I go in that store, I'm never gonna leave. I'd be in a lot of trouble.
I always tell people
my credit card would get maxed out. My wife would divorce me. I'd be in a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, man. I told you they got a little safe. You can, when you walk in, you have to put your credit cards and the new B&H credit card that they have and whatever.
I always tell people
it's dangerous in there. It really is, man. There is just so much stuff to look at.
Yeah,
no, but when we go to these conventions, I always tell people, it's the gear you can always see online or, YouTube. It's not about the gear. It's more about the prints over there. The prints is where you can actually see the quality of the company making these prints or these canvases. And you can say, okay, this is what you get. This is what this means. Or you feel the print and the binding. And, that's what I go for.
Thanks, Josh. I need that before I go to bed. Oh.
Well, if you have a third one, I don't think you'll have a choice. You'll definitely go to sleep.
I've just been trying to stay hydrated. It's been the big one. Haven't drank near as much coffee, and that's what's, I think, killing me. No coffee.
They have a whole convention floor of just print companies, Chuck. A whole
that's cool.
Separate convention floor of just album makers, prints and frames and all this stuff.
They got vendors there that
Yep.
that do books.
Yep. Oh yeah. All types. I mean,
Vitali, you're going to have to go with us next year.
I've never been to WPPI.
It's right up your alley, isn't it?
It's a little out of my way, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a bit out of my way too.
well, he gets to see Vegas too.
But yeah. Yeah, hopefully we can make this happen. We keep talking about it enough, we will. So next year, WPPI out in Vegas, we're all going to meet.
I warned my wife I might be doing a road trip with some of you guys someday. She kind of looked at me and says, "You're going to leave your dog for that long a period of time?" I says, "Well, yeah, the dog would have." I said, she mentions, "Oh, you're going to leave the dog for a long period of time." She doesn't say she's going to miss me, but she says the dog really is going to miss me.
You know, when I went to Photo Plus, I met what's his name?
Jared Poland?
Manny Ortiz. I met Manny Ortiz, and I met actually Manny Ortiz. I thought he was taller. He was, shorter than I thought he was. But anyway, and what's his name? That Nikon guy.
Oh, Matt Granger.
That Nikon guy, yeah.
He hates that nickname, I think.
Mr. Matt Granger, yeah.
There was this big thing where he sold all his Nikon stuff and he bought Sony's. And then now he's back to the Z9s.
Yeah, he left and came back.
Yeah, I know he commented he sold some lenses and then he missed the lens so much he went and he bought it back again.
Yeah, I've done that.
I think his biggest thing was, from what I remember, Matt Granger, when he was selling all his stuff, because video was important to him.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big part of his business, and it's totally understandable because he is on YouTube. He needs that. And when Nikon eventually came out with something that was getting him exactly what he needed and was matching all his Sony quality and autofocus, he was familiar with it. He knew the colors. He trusted the camera.
Yep.
So there's kind of no reason for him not to go back and use what he is, what's close to his heart.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think the video was the bigger part of what his decision. Again, here we go with video again.
Yeah.
Nikon has figured that out, though. As they said, they know that now. So that is on their list for development in all the newer cameras that are going to come out too. So you're going to continue to see video features mature within the Nikon brand, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think whatever Nikon is going to do next, whether it's a full frame or it's a crop sensor camera, it's going to be wrong for them not to put in some of the AF and video features that Z9 has. It's going to hurt them if they don't do that.
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely. That prompted Vahagen's response to Jared Poland, talking about how Canon had dropped their AF or similar AF capability to the R3 down into the R7. Now, nobody says it's the exact same AF capability in the R7, but it's, I think, using that tech, they've, up the AF in a lower tier model. So for $1,500, you get AF that's like the flagship. It's pretty amazing. So yes, AF has to be a big part of all the cameras coming out.
Hero,
Well, even Nikon was saying, Chuck, in the presentation you were showing, last week or whatever that one of the comments is we need to flow down the Z9 capabilities into the lower end bodies.
Yeah.
Now, how much they can put into the lower end bodies that exist now, who knows? But at a minimum, you better make sure you have 85% or 90% of it
Yeah.
in a new body. I mean, you're not going to match the Z9 feature for feature, but you got your autofocus and certain things are going to.
Yeah, AF and video
AF has to be the same.
yes, AF and video has to be stellar.
Yeah, and your processor should be the same processor chip.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even if it isn't, this is what Frames was talking about. Even if they don't put which I can't imagine them doing, but even if they don't put the XP7 chip in the new camera and they try the dual sixes or whatever, the camera is going to have less to do. So it's probably something that the XP6 chips could handle. But I don't think that's going to be the case, though. I think it's XP7 from here on out.
Yeah, if they put that in the new bodies, the volume is going to make the cost of the chips less money. The more they use it, the more money, the less it's going to cost them, and the more profit they're going to make.
Yep. Uh-oh. Oh, so Frames just let me know that he's driving somewhere right now, going to shoot where my dad grew up. So that's why he's not in here. That's awful early in the morning for him. Well, not too early, I guess. I'd send him a link to join us if he wanted to. I guess he's busy. XP 8, Roy, I don't know, man. That may be the next flagship. But yeah, I think that Sith asked, what video feature do you think would be released? Well, one we know almost has to be released is what, Jeffrey?
I think it's going to be at least 6K oversampled 4K.
Well, the one thing we know will be 10-bit internal.
10-bit internal, yep.
Yes. I think that's going to be the norm. It has to be now.
Yep.
Adamus isn't going to like this, but
yeah, Adamus doesn't like the Z9 too much, I bet.
Well,
a lot of things.
They don't like Sony then either, because
that's right.
All the Sonys are 10-bit.
Or the R7, because it's I think it even has 10-bit internal.
Yep.
So yeah, those are the things you're going to see. And everybody said I was crazy. They're not going to put all this in, all those bodies. They're going to leave the flagship sit at the top with everything and laugh at everybody. No, not today. Things have changed, fellas. Things have changed. The Nikon of old is not the Nikon now.
Yeah, but you know what happens? The technology is gonna trickle down to a DX and a Z8, and what happens is in a couple of years, the Z9 II is gonna be leapfrogging over the R1. So it's gonna be like, it's just a cycle. Hey Chuck, guys, I'm gonna bow out. I'll still be listening, but I'm gonna bow out of this. Thank you for having me, Chuck. Get well.
Yeah,
Vitaly,
man,
nice seeing you. Jeffrey, always a pleasure.
Enjoy the night, Wahagan.
Take it easy.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks,
right,
guys.
brother.
Thanks everyone in the chat. Rock and roll. If you haven't subscribed to Chuck's AP Studios, go ahead and do so. And we'll see you Tuesday on the Videography Talk. See you.
All right. Thanks for being here, brother.
Thanks.
Rock and roll.
All right. Robert's out of here too. He just said he's out. Will the APS-C and or Z8 surpass the Z9 with video feature? No, I don't think it will. But it may have very similar video features. I don't think, it depends on the sensor as to whether it'll be 8K or not. I don't think you're going to see that in the APS-C, but just like Jeffrey was saying, 6K is possible, but it's going to have all the internal recording. They have to now. That's the only way they can go now. If everybody else is doing it, then Nikon has to do it.
So you know what I'm thinking? I wonder if that would be the case. Let's say if they were to release some APS-C camera with 10-bit internal, I wonder if it's going to start killing Z6 and Z6 7 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will.
But the problem is it's their hot selling cameras.
Yes.
I hate to say it because people are going to want to kill me, but I think the Z6 and Z7 too. I think Nikon owes them at least one more significant update as best they can with the AF on the Z6 and Z7 too. And then I think they're going to be tapped out on those bodies due to hardware constraints. And then, you know, it's and then it is what you got what you got. You know, that's what they had, and you bought it. And it's just like I could cry and say, "Oh, I got a D850." It's like, oh, you know, gee, mirrorless is the thing now. Do I wish I didn't buy a D850? Well, absolutely not. I got my enjoyment out of it. I used it. I took lots of great pictures with it, and I'm keeping it. And the people that have those cameras have to really look at it the same way, and that things are going to move on and change, and eventually, yeah, you got to decide. My Z6 II and 7 II are good enough for what I'm using. Fine, keep it. Otherwise, you got to, as they say, you know, get with the program, and you're going to have to update.
This is where we get into this all the time, and this is where there is no easy transfer, transition. There is no easy way to do it, and somebody loses whenever it happens, and that's just the way it is. I know it sounds cold, but it has to be that way. So the Z6 II and Z7 II, there'll be an upgrade to. I'm not talking the firmware update, but there'll be an update to those cameras too. And you can bet when you see the Z6 III and the Z7 III, they're going to be different cameras because all that technology has to go into those. But what should you do? Should you come out with a Z6 III and a Z7 III before a Z8? I don't think so.
No,
because then people are going to say, you know, I really don't need the Z8, even though it does this, this, and this. I think the Z8 will be, you know, I think that I do believe this is going to be an APS-C camera coming out here real soon. Hero, so you may get your wish. I think that we're going to see the mirrorless D500. And when I say that, don't start thinking I mean an exact copy of the D500, as people said when I said the baby Z9, which I think the Z8, I called it the baby Z9. No, it's not going to be as capable as the Z9. But in this body, this mirrorless body, I don't know. It's going to have better tech than the D500 had, obviously. And I think you're going to see that here in a few weeks. So get ready, man. Save your money. It's coming. 200 to 600. I have no idea.
I look at a Z8 if they come out with one as being, I call it the D850 plus. It'll be the D850 and more, but it will not match item for item with the Z9. They're not gonna cripple that camera. They're still gonna have the Z9 as the flagship, and that's the way it's gonna be.
Yeah, you see, I don't think they're gonna do this year. Maybe my feeling is either next year or year after, because they want to ride this wave of success of Z9. You know, it only makes sense for them to.
I think they're losing. I think they're losing that wave right now. I really do. A lot of people don't believe that, but they can't stand on that because it's allowing too much criticism for not having anything underneath it, like every other manufacturer. So I don't think they ride it that long.
That's why I think they're gonna probably do something about the DX. You know, kind of like our discussion about D or Z500. You know, put in a lot of specs, make it super. You know, when I say super affordable, I mean even $2,000 can be a lot of money for a lot of people, but make it relatively affordable to Z9, and then I could see in 2023, maybe 24, they would have Z850 that will kind of closely match to the video capabilities when it comes to codec and all of the other frame rates of Z9.
Well, they can do that. No problem at all. They could do that in this APS-C camera. The only thing you're going to lose is duration of video at 8K because when you change the body, you lose all that heat sink capacity, but the tech can still be used in any camera they want to put it in. And Vitali, I disagree 100% on the Z8 being that far into the future. I think that's a huge mistake for Nikon.
Yeah.
Huge.
I think they have to announce it by the end of the year and produce it by the middle of next year. And they have to, if they do the APS-C, they have to be able to ship it by the end of this year.
The only reason the Z9s are still selling at all right now, I mean, we don't know how many they're selling, and probably very few right now. All the sales have been made in pre-orders and everything else. And the only reason they've sold as many as they have up to this point is because people want all that capability, and they're going to scratch the money together to pick up a Z9 that they don't want. They want that capability in a smaller body. How many D850 sold compared to D5s? And it wasn't just because of money, because people didn't want the D5. They don't want a a large frame camera. They want that smaller form factor. And they were different cameras now as far as the sensors go, obviously. But that's what everybody wants, is a smaller frame camera that does what the Z9 does. When I say does what the Z9 does, I don't mean exactly, because you're right. Why would anybody buy a Z9 if I can get it all in this $3,500 body?
Yeah.
But it's going to be limited physically in what it can do. And Roy brought that up earlier. He doesn't want to give up that EL18 battery. Why? Because you can shoot all day long and half the night on one battery, where you can't with the EL50s or 15s. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So just physics will limit that camera. Just the physics alone will limit the camera. And then there will be some cripple hammer work, of course, that goes into it. But it has to be along the lines of the D850, meaning it's your backup to your flagship if you're carrying two bodies. And it has to come out sooner rather than later. Nikon can't just drop an APS-C camera this year and call it quits. You know how furious the Nikon fans are going to be because Canon dropped a $1,500 camera that can do 10-bit internal, has comparable autofocus to the R3 and the Z9, if you want to throw that in there, not as good, but comparable. I mean, come on. How long can Nikon expect to survive? I mean, without losing more market share if they don't do something about that. And APS-C is not the fix-all for them. That camera body has to come out, or else you need to come out with a Z7 III right now that brings some of this new tech. I know a lot of people have Z7 IIs, Z6 IIs, and they're happy with them. But people aren't upgrading right now because they're all waiting for that latest tech to come out in a cheaper body. And the only reason the Z9 had as much success as it's had, it would have been a very successful camera no matter what. But the only reason it has had this much success is because of the price point. People were willing to stretch their budget. I'll go $5,500, but I can't go $6,500. They can't go $5,500, some of them, but they made it work somehow because they wanted the tech in that camera. But a lot of people sat out saying, I'll wait. I don't know how long they're going to wait. So that's just my opinion across the board on it all. And again, I stand behind my opinion. We'll absolutely admit if I was wrong, down the road as these things begin to prove themselves. But I just don't see Nikon sitting back for a year and a half on that Z8. I think that's a huge mistake for them. All right, I've run my rant long enough. I'll let you chime back in there, Vitali.
No, I hope you're right, Chuck. I hope you're right. Again, I just don't know what happens behind the closed doors, and they're looking at their profits. They're certainly looking at, um, money, time, opportunity, right? So when they can release something, they're looking at other competitors, to see what Canon and Sony is releasing. It has to be part of their strategy.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, you know, they are just as capable of, for example, right? For example, take a CF Express card, right? The hardware for the CF Express for them to make costs probably just as much if you make, you know, a 8 GB card versus 120 GB card, right? So it all depends how much power, how much extra spec they want to put in that specific item.
Hmm.
So look, for example, Z6, Z6-7, they're the same size, same form factor. They just put a little bit extra in there. But how much actually cost them to put this extra? So they can actually hold back some of the tech and not put into that specific camera because they just want to be able to price it differently. It's a whole science about pricing your
Yeah.
products. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why even though they have all this technology with Z9, they could technically put in a smaller camera, a lot of it, but they also might want to hold it back because they want to be able to create, like, for example, look at iPad, right? iPad
Oh,
Pro,
oh,
iPad Air,
yeah.
you know what I mean? They have all these different segmentations for people to look at. Okay, I want to afford this, I want to afford that. So
No, I absolutely agree with you. And that's why I say that one, the physical limitations will be part of, differentiation between the Z9 and that body. The other piece is what Nikon want to release so that they're not, I mean, they can't outdo the flagship. So you're right. There will be some bits and pieces. They can limit certain pieces of do we need Nikon RAW in RAW in that body? And everybody's going to say yes, because if you talk to the consumer, they want the Z9 in a smaller body at $50. That's what they want, and everybody's going to complain. Well, if you don't give me 8K 60, then it's no good, even though we're not using 8K 60 for anything hardly right now, other than the ability to crop. Yes, it will be a lesser camera too, but not by much. How much less was the D700 to the D3? Not by much. And everybody says, well, they learned their lesson. No, they learned their lesson. They sold twice as many cameras with the D700 and the D3, because very few people were buying flagships back then. So, I think that, and I think that it's not just that we get beat up, but by giving influencers another thing to pick on with Nikon means fewer sales for Nikon. I know that sounds hard to believe that anybody would be influenced by influencers, but it's absolutely true. They've got to fill this line out. That, like I said, they're going to quit picking on the Z9. Now they're going to start talking about how Nikon doesn't have a full lineup of cameras because they won't include the Z6 II and Z6 III or Z7 II.
No, that's the problem, and it's part of their marketing scheme. It's kind of like a shark can sense when there's blood in the water, right? So their idea of blood in the water is, well, even though 90% of the people would be more than happy with the performance of a Z6 II or a Z7 II, they're gonna hammer about the AF not being up to par on those models, and they're gonna say, oh well, if you want a good Nikon, you can only get that in the flagship model. So until you can even things out and put that technology in some more reasonably priced bodies, that's like the blood in the water for the sharks, and they're just going to keep attacking that point, whether it's really valid or not. There is some validity to it, but they're just going to keep poking the finger in the wound over and over and over again, and get people to say, well, yeah, you're right, maybe I should get the Sony instead. It's like you can't wait. They can't afford to wait anymore. It's waiting is not working for them. I mean, you got to ride the wave of the Z9, and you got to stay at the top of the wave right now. You can't let it crash.
Let me ask this question: what's the difference between the D850 and the D5?
Well, I think the D5 I think did have better autofocus. They tried to say the D850 had the same autofocus as the D5, but that wasn't true. It wasn't exactly the same. The D5 was better with the autofocus than the D850 was. And then, of course, I think the D5 shot a higher frame rate, but of course, it was less megapixels too.
Yeah. Okay. So did the D850 or the D810 kill the D5?
I think D5 was in its own class.
Yeah, it was
I'm
yeah,
ready
it
for
was a lot
I'm
different because it
prepared
was
for
the
that
sports.
response.
It was
I
the sports.
anticipated it.
It was the sports photographer and the camera for
Okay. So
sports because of the fast frames per second, and even the D800 or the D810 didn't do that. I mean, but people were starting. That's when you had the megapixel wars starting to pick up, and people were looking more at a high megapixel camera. I might want to go that route, and it was cheaper. But the pros making a living for Sports Illustrated and stuff like that.
So
They bought the D5.
what I'm trying to pose here is a comparison between where we're at right now in mirrorless and where we were in DSLR with those two cameras. Okay, you can't use megapixels anymore because yes, that was a differentiation between those two cameras. One was probably much better for landscape, i.e. the D850 versus the D5 at a lower megapixel. One was better at low light, although there was an argument there too between D850 shooters and D5 shooters.
Yeah.
But there was a difference between, the two in low light. And then of course we had frame rate, frames per second, which obviously the D5 excelled in. So the D5 became a sports wildlife camera. Nobody, even though it definitely was, but nobody would consider it a landscape portrait camera.
No.
And probably fewer wedding shooters shot with the D5 than they did with the D850 or D750, by the way. All right. So what I'm getting at is, did the D850 kill the sales of the D5? And now, why would a camera that competes on so many levels with the Z9, except for it's not shooting 130 frames per second JPEG or 30 frames per second in what is it?
In JPEG.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And 20 frames per second in lossless raw or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So if it's limited there, will that be enough of a differentiation?
Well, I think I don't think the video specs are going to be the same. They're going to have
They can't be.
They can't be 8K. You can't price it at $3,500 and do the 8K. You'll be cutting your own throat there. You got to keep.
What I'm getting at is, I think that it's much ado about nothing when we go down this path all the time, and I'm sure they do it in other brands as well. Down this path of, well, you can't, they're not going to sacrifice sales of blank because with X or whatever. I think that Nikon can do what they've done in the past. And maybe that's what they're trying to relive right now with an APS-C. When we got the D5, we got a D500 at the same time. We didn't even know we were getting it. It's kind of like a bonus. If you buy now, we'll throw in this APS-C body that's built just like the D5. Yeah, I wish it'd been that way because I wound up buying the D500 as well. But I think that there's plenty of room left between the Z8, if we're going to call it that, the Z8 and the Z9 to differentiate the two cameras.
Yeah.
And it's easy enough for Nikon to do that and still make everybody happy. In other words, you want to shoot 130 frames a second, then you go buy a Z9.
Yeah, and the D500, they could go back to that mentality and make the D500 replacement the APS-C version of the Z8.
Yeah,
in a way.
We'll see what happens, but
yeah,
I think that Nikon has to move another full frame camera, the prosumer body camera, and it's going to have to come out sooner rather than later. But I guess we need to wait and see what happens here in the next few weeks, because yes, we're going to see another camera body, and I do believe it's going to be APS-C. And maybe that's enough to satisfy people. You know what? I'll give you that, Vitaly. Maybe that's enough to satisfy people, to let them hold out longer for a Z8. But, we'll have to wait and see. Long Rider, here's a bigger question. What camera could Nikon release that would attract users from other brands? I think it takes a lineup, Long Rider. I think if Nikon does their homework and can get these cameras to market, it's the lineup that may attract people over to Nikon. But I don't think any one camera will do it. There'll always be a few that'll sneak over and try. There are others that, Canon and Sony shooters that have tried the Z9. I know that. But getting somebody to switch brands again, or move back to a brand they were previously with, I think it's going to take the full lineup, not just any one body in the lineup.
Well, it's going to be the lenses too. They might say, oh, I like that 400-2.8, or I like that 600 f4 when it comes out. I like the PF lenses that nobody else has PF lenses, and they may not be able to make PF lenses because of patents. Who knows? So Nikon has a leg up on some of the lenses, especially if you're in the need of the long lenses. They have very competitive prices.
So you're right, but it's going to take the camera bodies. You're right, though. Right. I mean, they want to know that they have lenses for them, but it's going to take the bodies, the cameras. That's what will bring people over, if the glass is available.
I think I would also add to that is what's going to help people switch maybe to from different brand is also the pricing model that will be coming with the new models, right? So because people who are shooting Sony or Canon today, they are obviously hearing and knowing about Z9, how great and awesome it is. But they're like, $5,500. I don't know if I want to spend that much money. Plus, I got to buy new lenses. Now, but if they release, especially for those who are sports and wildlife shooters, something at $2,000 price range, DX, it's a lot more low-hanging fruit for them, and to at least try, and knowing, okay, it has the same AF, has the same 3D tracking as a Z9. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. I feel it's a reasonable price to try. So I think the pricing is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Nikon did that with the Z9. Did anybody expect that camera to come in at $5,500? I didn't initially, but then after a while, we actually predicted it at that price. But because we were talking about, could this body be built cheaper than the DSLR platform, especially since it's now mirrorless? But that aside, Nikon priced it the way they did, and they knew what they were doing. Does that mean that's going to trickle down into other bodies? I'm hoping so. We're going to find out here pretty soon. Maybe Nikon again found some secret sauce. They got a great deal on magnesium or something. I don't know. But hey guys, I appreciate everybody being in here, but man, I gotta go. I gotta take me some more get rid of the sinus stuff going on.
Well, Chuck, I hope you feel better soon. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Take some good drugs, as they say.
I'm going to.
Get better.
All right. Hey, Vitaly, thanks a lot for joining tonight, man. And
thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Don't take my my countering some of your comments or anything.
These are great debates, you know what I mean? Because it's helps us see what's coming down the line, and eventually when something comes out, I'll be like, yep, Chuck, you were right and I was wrong.
And I'll be the first to say, well, Vitaly, you were right and I was wrong. That's why I said last week or whatever it was, I'm either going to be a zero or a hero here before long. And I'll stand up and say 0 if I am. But anyway, yeah, thanks a lot for being in here, man. You're welcome anytime, brother.
Thank you.
And hey, Jeff, thanks again as always. Appreciate it.
No problem.
For those of you that don't know, Vitali Touch Life Studio, you see it on the screen right there under his video window. Check him out. Wedding photographer, beautiful family, and he does some great work. Jeff, Mr. Selective Imagery, check out his new YouTube channel, and he's growing quickly. If you like bird photography and all the other stuff that goes along with wildlife and the conservation of bird photography, wetlands, and things like that, jump over to Jeffrey's channel and make sure you give him a shout. Make sure that you like and subscribe there as well, and make sure everybody's around Tuesday. And Bayou Josh is in the house still, I think. He's going to be over on Vahagan's live stream. We'll all be over there. And again, Josh, looking forward to hearing about your trip to Alaska. Let you guys say goodnight, and we'll shut her down.
Yeah. Well, good night, everybody. Thanks for joining. And let's hope Chuck recovers quickly. We want him to be healthy for the next live stream.
Yeah.
And have a good one.
Thanks everyone for inviting me, and Chuck, I hope you feel better soon. Maybe you might want to take Josh's advice with that whiskey.
Yeah, I may have to do that.
Yeah.
I may have to do that.
Times
All
two.
right, guys. All right. Thanks for being in here on a Saturday night, everybody.
Good
God
night,
bless
everybody.
you. And I'll see you I'll see you Tuesday over on Vahagan's channel. And then again, of course, Wednesday, noon Eastern time, we'll be live in another live stream. Maybe we'll be talking about this new camera then. All right. Good night, everybody.